Welcome to Game Changer Weekly. John, how are you doing this Tuesday evening?
I'm doing well so far. We have a lot going on. I'm doing fantastic. We have a great night ahead of us. Effie will be here fairly soon. How are you doing so far tonight, B?
My night's made. We got Green Cane back in the chat. That always pops me seeing it pop up in the chat. I don't know why. I just seen it popped up, made me smile through the chat. Yeah. Well, what's going on, everybody? We got Clown, Reed, James. We had a lot of people waiting for this podcast. Effie is. Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. Effie's going to take us on a ride tonight.
I'm really looking forward to it. The last 2 weeks for us have been very, very crazy. Actually, I'll say 3 weeks. This last week, we came on the show and we're thinking, all right, this is going to be us walking off our home run. We hit that big goal of finally being able to work with GCW in some major capacity. And we finally got that. We figured, okay, that's going to be the news of the night. And then an hour and a half before the show, all kinds of crazy things go down. And I'm like, you know what? We got to get Brett on air. And that's just what we did. So I'm kind of nervous about the whole situation last week. And I hope that we handled it well. When it comes to the interview portion, we felt that the talk outside of the podcast was mainly about what was said out of Brett, and it wasn't about us. So we feel like we did our job by staying the heck out of the way. Green Cane, Reed, great one. Welcome. Rose, Queeros and Milk, all the way from Scotland. Welcome. Jim, we said hi to you. You'll get a second one. That's nice. So that's where we were at last weekend. And then everything just went crazy. It was a record. It was a record show for us on live numbers. It was a record overall numbers. So we were very fortunate to be able to host that show as wild as it was. And here we are tonight in another situation. So
Right.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, like I still kind of, well, it don't matter what my thoughts are at the moment here. So my thoughts will have to hold as we have the man himself here with us. Sorry, let me pull up the screen. It came a little faster.
Ooh, we just got rated. Yeah.
And we got the EFFY rate too. Yes. And we have the man himself.
Up.
EFFY.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, EFFY. Comment allez-vous?
Yes, we can.
Je ne sais pas, désolé. I'm not sorry. I'm here. I'm excited. And looking forward to chatting with you guys. I haven't ever been on the show before, but I've rated many times.
Yes, and we're always so appreciative of it so much. Thank you so much, EFFY.
Yeah, pumped. Excited to be here.
We love you, man. And yeah, I was telling B off camera, this is one of those long time in the making things. We've always talked about getting together. Las Vegas just never happened the way we wanted it to. And we planned this weeks ago, and then everything happened all at one time, and timing, I think, was perfect.
Well, I hate to give away too much right away, but timing with EFFY typically goes pretty well. Sometimes I'm not sure of where the direction things are going, how it works out, how it pans out. But I've kind of put my trust in the universe that, things will pick up when they need to pick up. And you guys were right in the middle of EFFY timing happening for everyone. So, yeah, happy EFFY season. I don't know when it's coming and I don't know when it goes away, but what a life.
No stress at all, right?
No, honestly, here's the thing. This is what people have to realize. If you've been on the EFFY journey long enough, and, I've been consistently with GCW for the past 5 years. I've been wrestling professionally, paid to wrestle professionally for almost 11 years now. 11 years. I've seen a lot of things. I've done a lot of things. I've gotten in a bit of hot water a few times. This isn't new for me. This isn't, this is kind of, it's run of the mill. Run people up, get them worked up over something you said, use the press the best I can, and try to direct people back to the product that we're actually on. You know what I mean?
We do. And I think as somebody with a PR major, you're in the perfect position to talk with us tonight, right?
Yeah, always. And my main focus was in crisis communication which is when you make a mistake as a company, when you make a mistake in the public, how do you turn that into something good or positive? How do you react to that the correct way? How do you read the room? And I've been reading the room for the past week and a half. I mean, listen, the stream tonight worked perfectly that I had, but I didn't have a stream last week because as I was trying to go live, I couldn't get it to go live. Something logged out. Streaming is a very technical thing. And I started getting phone calls that Tuesday night. So it's probably good I wasn't live on the air because things got a little out of control, as 8:00 hit last Tuesday. So it's been about a week of, dealing with stuff. I'm sure there's people watching who are like, what the hell is this guy talking about? But I've had quite the week and I've had quite the life. So let's discuss what we need to discuss. I'm an open book tonight, fellas, whether they're your questions or not. And listen, I'm looking at the logo. There's a GCW logo here. There's Game Changer Weekly here. Body Slam bringing this to us. But no softballs, baby. Let's get into the real stuff. And I had the pleasure of listening to Brett when he was on here last week when things were getting a little out of control. And I really, really appreciated the support. And I knew that was the way we had things, which is, he's not mad that Effy said something that got controversial reactions. He's not mad at Effy did something that he didn't know about. I'm an independent contractor, and he has an understanding of that with our company where, yeah, long term, it can be very difficult to work with independent contractors. But when you both kind of have each other's side in these things and you both sort of see the bigger vision of what GCW can be and what the indies are right now, this isn't somebody who was calling me frustrated or mad. He was really as conflated as I was about how silly the whole thing was coming off. And, I'm sure there's seriousness to it, but I'm not a bootlicker. I don't know what else to say about that.
Well,
I think that's a great start, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I guess my first question, right off of that is, as this was a tape, this was previously on your podcast, like a week or two prior, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah. So I guess it was, let's look at the actual dates here because it gets funnier the more you look at the dates. This
Especially
podcast was released on the 18th, and I guess these videos came out the same day or day after. So this is, not last Monday, but the Monday before. So this is, well before Thanksgiving. You have the timing of those things coming out. They really I've had things blow up before on TikTok, on Twitter, on Instagram. There was a little bit of viewage on this, but I mean, at the time of the controversy, there was 200 likes on the TikTok. Let's not act like, this was being shared around the world constantly. I can't speak for Ricky Starks, right? I want the best for Ricky. That may be at AEW, that may be at WWE, that may be out here on the indies, that may be with GCW. And I don't think that dream is out the window. And, for everyone saying, oh, it's Effy's fault, he can't be here. This is how things are done in wrestling. And it's something that, he's going to have to go work on his own. AEW's going to have to work out with him. They are correct. He is under contract with them. But, I haven't seen him on TV in a 10-month period. I haven't seen him doing much. And the timing just to me was a little laughable. And I was surprised as many people were taking it seriously as they were, seeing, okay, here's a clip from a podcast over a week old. Here's Ricky Starks releasing an interview with Chris Van Vliet, where I don't think he was rude at all. I think he was very honest and, direct about his situation. And, you don't know who approved him being at GCW, but somebody was not excited, and his contract being leaked that, they had added on the additional option, which they legally have a right to do. It's all the timing of that happening at the exact same time and then using me as a blame, go ahead, buddy. You can blame me. I can handle the blame. I can take the heat. I've been called every name in the book before this, and it doesn't it surprised me this time too, because I'm opening Twitter. And at one point on the Tuesday, I'm trending number 4 in the nation, not Tony Khan, not Ricky Starks, not AEW, EFFY. EFFY is trending 4th in the United States because there's a lot of reaction to this. And the reaction is kind of split between, this is very silly and clearly not, this was not the straw that broke the camel's back of, we're taking all their talent away, because you had guys working Bloodsport. You had Ricky showing up at the mall. This was, someone pointed out a way out, and they took the way out, and that's fine. And, I'm not someone who's going to go back on what I say. I said what I said, and I don't think I said anything crazy. I just think there are certain triggers that people have that you have to be mindful of, especially if you're in business with them. But I'm not in business with these people. And, sometimes I feel like the little the little squire, the little village boy who's out speaking for the people, throwing rocks at the side of the castle. And you wouldn't notice it if you're in the castle unless you look out and see them and yell and point me out. And you're just giving me press. You're just pointing to me as the direct reason is only going to help Effie. I flipped this on its head. It's fine. And I think even the news articles that were confirming with them were a little confused and going, this is the reason you want us to print. This is the reason you want us to put with this specifically. This wasn't like a side note. Oh, maybe it's this. Maybe we saw this. This is a specific reason given for why he was pulled from the show. And I clearly am a person who's GCW for life, man. I'm independent for life. I've made this very clear. So someone like me, who is not looking at any future job opportunities with you currently, who is not looking to work for the major companies, who's not looking to sign any contracts, I understand the downsides of being that kind of independent, but I also see me as an easy person to go, okay, we can throw the blame on him. He's not someone who's our employee, who we have to deal with, who knows anybody, who is dealing with anything here. It's easy to throw it on the indie boy, and I can take the heat, but also, like, I speak for myself. So when you put this on me, I am going to, make my own observations, look at what's around me on the facts, and say, I don't think this was really an Effie problem.
So I'm gonna go. Wow, we have went right into this. I love you. He's like,
I told you,
I
we're
came
here.
To talk. Mwah, beautiful. You know what?
I love talking.
This is Effie.
You don't have to pull it out of me, baby. Give me a platform, and boys, I'm ready to answer anything, talk about anything. And I do have the tendency of a politician, a little bit of, you'll ask me a question, I will try to answer it, but I'll just keep going on if I get caught on a tangent too.
No, you're good. You're good. So here's what I'm going to do. I have realized we have quite a few listeners in here, and I believe some of them may be new, or some of them may even be from the AEW side, and they're new to who Effie is. All they know of is what they've heard on Twitter or Facebook, and they haven't had a chance to know exactly who you are or what you've done. And anyone who comes on the show that we interview always gets a little bit of an intro. I like to sit down, do a little research, and bang out a little bit about, again, who you are, what you've done. So just kind of take a relaxing break for a minute or two here. Rest your voice. You have been working for over 3 hours now.
I took it easy tonight.
You did a great job, though. It was really fun to watch all those matches go down. I did not catch the main event since I was here.
But it was me versus Ricky Starks, my good friend.
Yeah.
What a time to miss it.
All right. So listeners, we are very fortunate to have a very special guest with us tonight, Effy. He's been wrestling for over 11 years, 34 years old, hailing from, at this time, I believe, Atlanta, Georgia. Trained by Steve Hetrick, he's a true all-rounder in ring. Known as the feminist icon and the weapon of sass destruction, Effy's a blend of entertainment, athleticism, and activism. He's wrestled roughly 650 matches in his career. He fights in singles matches, tag team matches, death matches, cage matches, weapons matches, and scrambles. Primarily, he's been an anytime, anywhere type of wrestler. Worldwide, Effy's ranked number 122 in the PWI Top 500. He has 12 championship reigns to his name, averaging 213 days per title run. That's over 7 months each. Effy's longest title run was the Fest Wrestling Championship, 727 days. That's 3 days short of 2 years. His second longest title run is the Inspire Pro Pure Prestige Championship, 357 days, just short of a year. He's one half of the famous tag team Bussy with Alley Catch, who together blazed 2 championship runs across 2 different companies. We will talk about that fractured relationship later. They'd won the GCW World Tag Team Championship and the Freelance World Tag Team Championship. He was also tag team partners with a pre-AEW Danhausen as Gay Tanic Panic. Being a true independent talent, Effy has a very busy schedule. So far this year, he's wrestled 90 matches covering 31 different companies. In 2023, he had a record of 113 matches wrestled across 39 promotions. And in 2022, 107 matches across 41 promotions. Over the last 3 years, that's an average of 103 matches per year across 37 different wrestling companies. He's wrestled in 15 tournaments and was a finalist or semifinalist in 11 of those. Then there's Effy's Big Gay Brunch, the marquee event that bears his own name. an international showcase of the best LGBTQ plus professional wrestlers worldwide. As an advocate for the community, he personally hand selects the talent with a focus on finding the most entertaining and physically gifted individuals from within. One of EFFY's primary goals is to open the eyes and hearts of fans and show promoters they're leaving money on the table by overlooking some of these extraordinary talents. These sold-out events have been held in London, Dallas, Chicago, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Indianapolis, and Tampa, Florida, twice. Along with the cooperation of GCW and Triller TV, EFFY's Big Gay Brunch gets the attention of mainstream eyes and has helped elevate several wrestlers' careers. Now on to GCW. EFFY has wrestled for GCW 202 times with an impressive record of 121, 67, and 14. He debuted on April 6, 2019 at Joey Janela's Spring Break 3 Part 2 in the Clusterfuck Battle Royal. He's also been the sole focus in GCW's greatest storyline this year, having a blood feud with our world champion, Mance Warner. A couple matches worth highlighting in EFFY's career. At GCW Cage of Survival 2024, EFFY versus Mance Warner. GCW Homecoming Weekend Night 1, EFFY versus Jon Moxley. Joey Janela's Spring Break 6 Part 2, EFFY versus Minoru Suzuki. He's also appeared as a voice talent on the animated series Dead End Paranormal Park, where he played reoccurring character Asmodeus. Most recently, he was seen on game show Person, Place, or Thing as a contestant, and you'll have to watch to see how he did. EFFY's known for being outspoken and fearless. He embraces his identity, being unapologetically authentic. He challenges norms across the wrestling industry. He's a trailblazer for many and a leader in a much larger movement. And tonight, the daddy of the independent scene is with us. So listeners, I'm proud to present to you our guest for this evening, EFFY. How you doing,
That
EFFY?
was marvelous.
And
there's your
John's
write-up
done for the night.
Yeah, that was it. Blew the fucking engine on that
Blew
one.
it out. Blew it out. I think it's good for me to hear too, not to just sit here and chew my own horn, but like, I'm not a big person for reflectiveness. Most of the time it's continuation. It's what's next. And so kind of reflecting on these things. And I did it tonight with my stream, watching some older matches. I've kind of seen a lot of things in pro wrestling, and I've been very blessed on my journey of who I've gotten to work with, who I've gotten to interact with. And I think, having such a wide view of the business, having such a wide view of opponents and coworkers, it's mellowed me out some, meeting this many people that are involved in wrestling and love wrestling, but it's also made me even more fiery, because you kind of go, okay, from top to bottom, there's some really invested, hardworking people, but from top to bottom, there's also some people in the fucking way who are annoying, who are terrible, who are continuing business practices that don't help anyone in wrestling. And I think that, from a distance, if the only thing you've ever seen about EFFY is the online reputation or controversies I popped up in, or people tweeting about, he did this, he did that, whatever, Cornette talk, good. I hope you get a strong opinion of me, because the moment I think you end up in a room with me in a live performance setting, I think it's very hard to discount me or say that I'm not true to blood on professional wrestling. It's easy to discount me based on the public perception or things I may say, but I know how that works. And if you're already talking about me, you will pay attention when I come out. And I've had a lot of people come to me and say, I thought you were an asshole. I thought you were, just a loudmouth crap boy. And then I got in the room with you and I watched you wrestle and I understood it finally. And I love that reaction more than someone who's just been a fan the whole time. I want you to think you have a strong opinion of me. I want you to think that you've got, me figured out. And then I want to get in front of you and show you exactly what I'm about, which is professional wrestling. I think, once again, to my own horn, there's not many people as adaptive as me. I think of a Joey Janela who can work with anyone. That's somebody I always looked up to. That's someone I've always, now we're friends. We get to hang out. We get to be on a lot of shows together. But seeing someone who can work with any opponent, that's what wrestling should be. And I think if you look at my history there, it's not quite as diverse as Joey's probably, but I'm making my way there. And I've been able to have matches with any style of wrestler at any moment. I think that's a valuable thing here, even much more than just talking crap and getting people to talk about you.
Well, I just felt like it was fair that your accolades get banged out so that it's not like, oh, this is just some independent wrestler. No, this is one of the leaders in independent wrestling, and it took well over a decade to get there. And I wanted to bang out just, hey, you know what? This isn't a guy who just showed up last week and has a mouth.
I have my overnight success hat here.
Oh, I love
Oh, I
that. Nice.
Next to my Gay
So I'm
BL
gonna-
hat, we'll let you know. We
Oh,
got it
do you
all
have-
right here.
Oh, I thought you were gonna give it away tonight. I thought I saw that.
No,
too.
I'm gonna save it. I'm doing a whatnot tomorrow. We'll get to it.
Ah, gotcha.
So I'm gonna again go back to the beginning here. What companies did you watch first, and who were your favorite wrestlers?
My dad growing up was a big like Crockett Promotions, old school, pre WCW, like Southerner kind of stuff. You know, like he's seen me wrestle a few times, but the most like I can get him excited about a show is if someone like a Ricky Morton is there, or you know, if they happen to, oh, is Tommy Rich going to be there? So he was really into that kind of old school Southern wrestling stuff. In my house, my bedtime was 10 p.m. usually. So I could watch the first hour of Raw, but I could watch all of SmackDown. And for some reason, my parents would let me get away with watching WCW a lot more. I remember being at a friend's house and Goldust was on, and his mom was just like, what the heck is going on here? So I think it was slowly finding what I could find, but like it being SmackDown being on UPN, which is regular antenna cable, you know, 8 to 10 p.m. East Coast time. I was spending a lot of time in my young teen years, middle school years, watching those Ruthless Aggression years. And they had, you know, some of the best cruiserweight feuds, and seeing guys like Jamie Noble and Tajiri have a 6-minute match where I was like, you know, as a kid, you go, everybody's the main event. Like their story seems just as important to me as anyone else's. It was fun to see kind of how I came up with it. But my dad was always like do or die a Ric Flair guy. So I was always taught Ric Flair was the man. I have Dusty Rhodes tattooed on my left foot, but you know what's a Dusty without a Rick? You got to have your scrapper heel to work with, you know, to make your baby face count. So, you know, it's unfortunate what he's turned into. I got to work his last show, which was fun, but I did leave early because I said I don't want to be a part of a mass grieving. I really thought it was it for Flair that night, so I did the Battle Royal and then just left that show. I watched everything I can get my hands on growing up. I didn't get into the indies and like Japanese wrestling until college. I had friends who would pirate this stuff and we would hook this up. I remember on a big projector, and you know, you've got all these pirated weird things and we have no idea what's going on. So we're watching Japanese Deathmatch and Ring of Honor and PWG, and we're going, what the heck is going on with this stuff? And luckily when I got started in wrestling, I did get to venture to the Reseda PWG original like Knights of Columbus Hall building, and was at PWG Bowl of 2015, early in my career, and I sat behind Dave Meltzer. I sat next to Andy, who is now the Butcher on AEW. At the time, he was in a rock and roll band. And I just remember that weekend being like, wait a second, all these people are like wrestlers I look up to, but this is also somehow accessible in a way I didn't understand. And since then, it's like, I want the grandiosity of a WCW, of a WrestleMania, of a WWF. I want the big feel of that, but also having the continued accessibility of EFFY has also made such a big difference. And people are saying, oh, he's accessible because he's indie. But like, it's by design that I'm as accessible as I am, because I think that builds a stronger connection to people coming back and coming back. I'm not looking to leave and platform my indie success to something else. So I'm looking long-term, and I've had people coming to see me live for, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years in succession, who've always been there to show up. And I think it's because like, we're all wrestling fans. We all love this shit. And if it makes you excited to come meet me, wow, that's fucking crazy. What a cool thing. I don't ever, you know, I have found myself with difficulty in how much I've gotten, you know, closeness to the fans, but I've also found like I wouldn't do it any other way. And I remember the first indie show I ever went to. I lived on a military base, like a Marine base in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina for a while. And they would always have the military like fair there. It's like a state fair, but just mostly for military families. My family's not military. My dad ran J.C. Penney's, and we just happened to, he was working at one on Camp Lejeune. And we went to this, and they had an indie show there. And I had a bucket hat or something. I was very young. And I met all these guys like they were stars of WWF. I had no idea that they were, you know, just regional acts that were touring around, guys from the area, possibly just like off-duty Marines. To me, it was just like the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And having that environment for your shows and having, you know, people appear and be as superstars and megastars in front of you that are still within arm's reach, really, like there's a real magic that I don't think any other live performance has nowadays. So kind of, I think mixing all the things from my childhood that I liked with, you know, obviously the bigness of these TV companies and these superstars, you know, that are showing up versus these very accessible, very cool, just as cool to me, superstars that were at these smaller shows, these smaller events. Like there's a magic to meshing those two things together.
All right, then. So I'll go ahead, Bran. I see you already kind of.
I was just gonna say, like, you were talking about making yourself accessible. I wanted to add, like, or ask, like, you will have the longest lines at usually the merch tables, and you were always there after the show, after your match, and like you have everyone's leaving, and your line is still long. Like, how has that? How do you reflect on that? As you said, every week it kind of has gotten bigger and bigger, but as your growth in the company, but as a wrestler, as you said, first starting off on the indies, seeing that line grow and grow, how does that make you feel? And what is your like kind of reflectiveness on that?
I think it stresses me out a little bit. If we're being honest here, we'll be honest here. I've kind of gotten to a position where I look around and I see, like, Brett will bring in some very high profile, high name wrestlers. And I can think of a story. I don't think I've told this story. I'm going to tell it briefly so you can kind of get the vibe. I was working with Psycho Clown, which I thought was pretty random. Psycho Clown is a huge star in Mexico, a huge star in AAA, and he was making his GCW debut in LA. And I said, oh, yeah, like maybe Gringo, maybe Ares, maybe, Aramis was still around in that time. And there were a lot of cool lucha guys, in the mix. And then it was EFFY versus Psycho Clown. And I got there, and Psycho Clown does not know me. And Psycho Clown speaks plenty of English if he wants to, but sometimes he doesn't want to. And I went up to politely introduce myself. I said, hi, and maybe this was a bit much, but I said, you're very over. EFFY's very over. Easy match, fun night, great debut. And he said, no, good wrestling. Tonight, your match with me, good wrestling. And it was very a little dismissive of EFFY, and it's fine. I separated. He went to do his meet and greet upstairs. He's done a few of those in LA for Minoru Suzuki or him or, a few other talents. And he came to me after and he said, Hermano, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Everyone comes to me. They say, EFFY, we want to see you with EFFY. I didn't know you were a star. And he ended up having a wonderful match with me, pitched me, taking his mask, pitched me doing some crazy stuff. And I remember him going, can you do Spanish Fly? And I was like, of course I can do Spanish Fly. Let's go. So we just ended up throwing that in and seeing the line that was to him then afterwards be coming to me when I was going out to do my merch. And him having people assisting and someone moving the line along and someone going, can we get the picture and we'll do it? I love everyone and it's wonderful. But sometimes when I have that line out the door and it's 11:30 or midnight or it's getting late, even one time in Charlotte, I had to stop my line. I was going to miss my flight. I had to get back to Atlanta that night to fly. It can be very difficult to not have someone sort of in the mix with me, but I'm traveling solo all the time. I'm not with people all the time. It was a benefit to do merchandising with Ali because we kind of had a team effort. I do not have that anymore. And so I'm kind of looking at like, yes, I am an indie guy, but I have to be honest to myself about what the lines are, the time restrictions, and making sure everybody gets a little bit of time with me because I don't want to push people out of the line. I don't want to be rude to people. I don't want to send people on their way. A lot of people have driven a long way, spent a lot of money. They want to meet me for a moment, and I want to make that happen. But I have to find a little bit of a more efficient way now because, sometimes the time gets away from you and I've still got to eat. I've still got to go to the hotel. And when I'm getting back at 1, 2 a.m. and the food option, it can be very hard. And I think there's a more efficient way to do it. I haven't quite figured it out yet, but I'm kind of experimenting with things to make that line more efficient for everyone because, patience is rewarded, but there's only so much time in the night. And if I'm not getting out there till 10:45, 11, I don't want to keep you there all night either. So yeah, it's something I've really been thinking about and trying to do better with. And, I've lowered the amount of merch I'm bringing to some shows to try to just say like, get the merch online and just come meet me in person because I think the selection can be, there's a lot of parts to this. I just find myself in a lot of positions where, yeah, I'm an indie guy, independent, indie wrestler, little guy out on the regionals, whatever. But when you look at the lines, when you look at the things, when GCW was in Seattle, the night before we had the GCW show and then we had a Defy show, Bussy was on both. And by the Defy show the second night, the Defy team came to us and said, we set up a meet and greet for you tonight. We saw how hard it was for you guys to get through the line last night. And I don't always want to have to like flex that card or do this thing, but when promotions know if you give me a little bit of effort or give me a person or give me a photographer, this can be easier for everybody. And it really it helps everybody at your show. People get back to their seats quicker. Your intermissions are quicker. I can always use the assistance, whether I'm clear to admit it right away or not.
I'm going to go back just for a moment here because we've been going back to the beginning because you were talking about timing. Can you share with us the unique story of how you met your trainer, Steve Hetrick? I didn't want to pass up on this one. I thought it was such a cool story.
We got to call him by his real name, though, because to me, he's White Trash Fred. His legal name is Steve Hetrick. He's White Trash Fred. So at the time when I'll do this briefly because this could get long. I was living in Florida. I was running a moving company. I was drinking a lot. And I would go out to these, they call them the Coconut Loop. It's the small house shows that NXT would do. And I actually talked to Dak Draper about this the other week because I saw him when he was Sammy Six Guns in NXT. This is 2012 before I even started training. And I remember him wearing white boots and they were scuffed and it made me mad. And I told him that later. But I get to this show and it was a middle school gym show headlined by Mojo Rawley, who I've gotten to meet recently. Very cool guy. I can't get my car started after the show. And this guy comes up to me and he's smaller and he's got long hair. And he said he's a pro wrestler and he helped me get my car started, which was the first of many times he had to help me get my car started. And then signed an 8x10 for me that said, WTF, White Trash Fred, follow your dreams. I did not look at this again until I took 8 hits of acid, could not stop tripping, ended up going to outpatient rehab. It was a long story. But after that, I said, fuck it. I've got time. I've got money. I'm not drinking. I found him on Facebook from this 8x10. I hit him up and was like, bro, teach me how to wrestle. And so for the next year and a half, I would drive out every Sunday, every Saturday, whenever I could get out there to Live Oak, Florida, about an hour and a half from me. I would wrestle all day in the ring outside of his parents' house in the yard. And then I would drive straight home and feel alive for the first time in forever. It was awesome.
Such a release and a physical release. I think that's what you were looking for amongst all this that was going on.
Yeah, a physical release for sure, but just to like feel if things were real. And to me, like during this trip of trips, it didn't make sense to me that John Cena would fall down every night when the arenas look the same, the crowds look the same, the announcers are the same, the graphics are the same. It made more sense that you would just green screen and put his face in and repeat, and maybe it comes to your town or maybe it does. Like reality wasn't feeling very real. And the other day it was so funny. I was in the car and I was explaining this story to one Richard Holiday in brief. And we were in the car with Sabu. And I said, yeah, part of this was I didn't believe John Cena was real. And I look and I realize it and I go, Sabu. And he goes, what? And I go, is John Cena real? And he goes, yeah, real nice fella. Took care of me. And I went, so we solved it. So we got to the bottom of it. I can quit. I can retire. John Cena's real.
Wow. Now, is there any meaning behind your entrance song, Yellow Brick Road? We're definitely getting through the easy questions and working our way through here. What's the meaning behind Yellow Brick Road?
So allegedly, now Bernie Taupin wrote a lot of the lyrics for Elton John. Yes. They would collaborate a lot on what these songs were about. And allegedly, he wrote Goodbye Yellow Brick Road with each other about being invited to Andy Warhol parties, but every time they would go, they would just want Elton to play songs on the piano and basically entertain the parties. And so he wrote this song as basically, listen, this ain't no fucking dream for me. This is my art. This is my profession. This is not what I do when I'm hanging out with you. This is not what I do when I'm having fun with my friends. I'm not a fucking jukebox. Enjoy what I'm giving you and enjoy it when I give it to you and take it the way I give it to you, or I will take every bit of it and I will go the fuck home. You will not see me anymore. I will not worry about you, and I will not be a part of your party. If I'm invited to your party, it is not to be your court jester. If I'm invited to your party, it is because you want me there. And if I am presenting my art to you, number one, I need to be paid. And number two, you will get it the way I give it to you. As I say, the easiest way to put it is Effie's call time to the show is when my fucking music hits. You do not own any other part of me. And if you want me there, you will treat me kindly until I choose to give you my art. And it sounds very rude for me to do it, but it's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. I love it. It's beautiful. Being a performer is the most magic thing of my life. Being able to support myself, being a performer, an independent performer is incredible. But don't fuck with me. I will walk the fuck away. I have options. I have places to be. I have things to do. And if you have something to say about my art, then you need to be paying me. Otherwise, I don't give a fuck. It's my art. You don't control it. And there's nothing you can do to tell me how to achieve my art. So I listen to it every time I come out to the ring. And I'm glad other people enjoy it. But really, it's just a reminder to me that I can walk the fuck home right now. I don't need any of this shit.
I love that story.
Oh,
I had no idea about any of that. I love that. Like the reason why you picked that as your intro music is fucking awesome. That's awesome.
I love it. It works.
It's hard to beat that kind of a meaning. Were there any other songs that you wanted to use but maybe just didn't fit as well as that one?
Okay, so I used for a while a Justice song called Safe and Sound early on. And then I used for a while My Morning Jacket, Highly Suspicious, which I thought I was a little suspicious. And then I used a song, God, I'm trying to remember it. This was a song, okay, one time I used I Want You in My Room by Carly Jepsen. The song itself was so over that I could not match the song in how over the song was. So once the intro was over, I couldn't be that over. But I used a Foxy Shazam song one time and found the same issue. And I want to tell you what song it is. The song was so good and over. Let's make sure I get this right.
Well, while you're looking that up, someone asked about using the different versions of the song. How can you settle on one yet?
Okay, all right. I don't even remember what Foxy Shazam song was. It's out there somewhere. This is funny to me because I told Brett to use this Queens of the Stone Age version for one match. The match was the Cage of Survival. Brett did not label the songs correctly. And so now he's not sure which is which. And instead of fixing that, he just guesses. And that's why you've been getting different songs. I'm sorry. I wish it was a control thing. But and if you hear the Queens of the Stone Age version, which I only wanted for that one match, if you hear that version, just know I'm standing backstage going, so that's an impression of me as I hear the song. So if you're hearing the different song,
that's hysterical.
It's hard to beat Elton John. Elton's royalty. You know what I mean?
And I wanted to give that grittier feel for that specific match, as you can imagine. But then it kind of kept getting mixed up. So maybe he's trying to invoke a grittier EFFY when he plays it. I don't know. I doubt Brett doesn't make many mistakes, but he'll wink and nod at you.
He's subliminal messaging, like what kind of EFFY he wants to see.
Let's see up in the booth. That's what he's doing.
I've learned enough to know he'll fuck with you. Straight face fuck with you. Yeah.
But it's good. But it's like
it's good. Yeah.
It's never in a way to hurt you. It's always in a very fun, jest way. And like with the amount that we are around each other on the road and on these shows, it's even this weekend, I was like, let me get 60 seconds. And I just start going off and he goes, chill, EFFY. And it wasn't anything serious, but it was just like, you need to sometimes be told to take it down a notch because I get very excited, but we're on limited time with each other, you know? He's doing stuff with the show. I only have a few minutes per show to really get in what I need. And, you know, it seems to work out.
So then let's just pretend that Brett just can't find the EFFY buttons and Yellow Brick Road's just off the table. What are you using? Just for one night only. What's in the back pocket?
American Woman cover by Lenny Kravitz.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I just want that riff. I think if I hear that riff, like forget the meaning of the song, whatever. I'll be an American Woman. But I think that riff would have me walking out just hockey.
Strutting.
Strutting, feeling it. I want to do it. Yeah, he wants me to be a bad man. I can't be bad.
Oh, yeah, I think the strut would be good. I've said this to a couple of songs. It's got a nice cadence. So you can walk to it without it, you know, and then it has like a nice coolness to it if you take your time.
It's got the
works with the song.
So I can with it. You know?
So
I have to be able to
how did you find GCW or vice versa?
Okay, this is crazy. So rest in peace, Marcus Crane, my brother. Marcus, for the first time, wore an EFFY Beats Children shirt, which the story of that is when I fought Izzy Moreno when she was an 11-year-old girl at NXT, who was the Bayley superfan. I wore a 1-of-1 shirt that says EFFY Beats Children. Then a British newspaper, I think Page 6, picked it up and said I was glorifying child abuse by selling these shirts. So then I put them up online to sell. So Marcus bought one, wore it during a GCW show at the Voltage Lounge, and there were pictures of it, and people kept tagging me in it. But then this is what's crazy. I did a promo that was done with Fiverr. what I found early was I would spend time setting up cameras, paying videographers, paying editors to make very good promos for all these shows I was doing, because the reach of the shows was so much greater than, even though they're not at the show, even though they're not with me, they're seeing EFFY content for these shows. I was doing it so often that people were expecting it. And I was like, it's costing so much money. Every show is expecting it. And then these shows were not paying what they're paying now. And so I got mad at one of these shows and I just put it into Fiverr and got a 3D CGI robot voice version of me that's like, EFFY will appear at wrestling show. EFFY will be at wrestling show. He will kick your ass. Just toast it, because I was just tired of doing it. Well, Brett saw this, and this was the straw that broke the camel's back. He looked at Joey Janela and he goes, we got to have him. I don't care what it takes. We got to have him. Not based on a match, not based on my actual picture, not based on the shirt, because I made this stupid promo on Fiverr. And so then Joey ends up coming to a show I'm at in New York City, pulling me to the side and going, hey, we want you to the clusterfuck. And Joey's so casual about something where he's like, I mean, it's like getting your golden ticket. And he's going, yeah, we'll just do a video real quick. You kidnap me and be in the clusterfuck. So we do this video and then I'm in the clusterfuck. I do want to say, Joey took that same video and made a very similar one with Cody Rhodes on being the elite later. I take pride in us kind of building that one together. I love seeing my content in the media. And after that, you know, he saw me the clusterfuck. The first singles match I ever had in GCW was against Orange Cassidy. And should I tell this story?
Yeah.
Okay, so
by all means, because there's a lot of AEW fans that have no understanding about how big GCW is an influence to current AEW. So yeah, by all means, now is the time.
I think it's really fun to go back on Triller and see all these old events. And like, you can go watch me make Eddie Kingston tap out in LA. You can go watch me fight Orange Cassidy. There's so many cool things that have been done by GCW that, you know, it's great to see things later on TV. But at this show in particular, I didn't know Orange Cassidy. I know it was a big deal. I cut a promo where I chugged a whole quart of orange juice with my hand down my pants, burped, and said, give me the real thing. That was the whole promo. Everybody loved it. It was blowing up. I was getting a lot of traction. And we get to do this match, and we've called the match, and I'm sitting backstage. I was having a very odd conversation with Marco Stunt. And I was having, you know, this conversation in front of people, but people kept coming in the room, and the conversation was a little bit dirty. So basically, the question was about, you know, what I enjoy as a gay man. And we had discussed things, and I mentioned that when I was long distance dating my partner early on, I had made a replica of a part of my body, and they could use that if I wasn't there. And I said, you know, I usually am the one that gives and not the one that gets. But the only time that I've ever finished from getting was using this model of my own body part. And I paused and said, do you think that makes me a narcissist? Now, in the middle of this story, not only did Orange Cassidy walk in and Mance Warner walk in and Blake Christian walk in, but Nick Gage, who at this time I did not know, had walked in the middle of this story. And I kind of had to make the decision. This is pre-Effy's Big Gay Brunch. This is pre the world understanding my revolution. And I had to just go, am I going to keep telling this story when Nick Gage walks in or not? And I just kept telling the story. He didn't mention it. He didn't bring it up. Me and Orange Cassidy had an incredible match. You can go watch it online. Well, months later, when I'm fighting Nick Gage for the title, and he genuinely is pissed I have this opportunity. He has told Brett in no uncertain terms, this will be ultra violent. There will be blood everywhere. There will be so much glass. And he said, Effy, you didn't flinch. You said, sounds good. I'm in. And he took that as a respect sign. And we went out back to have a little conversation. And he said, that joke you told, bro. What was that joke you told? I'm going, I don't know. I don't know. And he goes, I told my wife about it. It was the funniest joke about you being a narcissist, and it clicks. And I went, oh, that joke. And I kind of hinted the joke, and then he retold it to me and said it's the funniest shit he's ever heard, and he had to tell his wife it was so funny. So if you ever hesitate on being yourself, just remember, I told a story about fucking myself in the ass with my own dick in front of Nick Gage, and he thought it was hilarious. So risk it. You got to be yourself.
And it sounds like you're giving yourself a 5-star rating on that one. 5 out of 5?
5 out of 5. Well, it's like closer to 7.5. Wait, never mind. What was the next question?
What's the worst bump you've ever taken?
I want to say the two really bad bumps that I can think of that are terrible were both from Maxie and Paler, and it was both times that they had chokeslammed me off the top of a 12-foot ladder. One of them was at Effie's Big Gay Brunch in Chicago, I think the second one, and then one of them was at Fest Wrestling, Pickle in the Tree ladder match. Both times they chokeslammed me off the top of this ladder, and boy, I took that bump as well as I could, but I got to be honest, I think my spine is still messed up.
Oh.
What about the Sadiqa spot in Texas?
Oh my God. So
no, okay. Sorry, I thought that was a pretty rough one too. Sorry.
Okay,
that was a deep inhale.
It wasn't a rough one, and that story to me is really funny because I thought everything was cool, and then I got out there, and all of a sudden she does not speak any English anymore, but she spoke perfectly, and just is going off the rails. And to me, what a fun match to look at, because there are definitely moments where I'm looking straight into the camera, or Brett comes to ringside and starts giving me instruction as I'm bleeding everywhere, and a moment where I kick her square in the face, and she just is doing her own thing. Clearly, I'm trying to give the signal like, I don't know what's going on here. I fully have lost control of this whole situation here. She's doing whatever the fuck she wants. So yeah, that was a little scary just because I was like, oh, I'm in a war zone right now. I don't know what the fuck is going to happen.
Didn't you not get like seriously cut in that match too? Or am I thinking of a different one?
Max Recon was my ref, and I remember that because I asked him to tie my bandana around my shoulder, and I kept screaming at him, cut or a gash, cut or a gash. And he was like, I can't see. And I'm wiping it, trying to see. I think it bled worse than it was, but it was not good. And it was off a move that I didn't know was happening. It was not the discussion we had. It was not the move. I did like its tornado suplex off the side. So the blade just like, or the light tube just like goes in the wrong way. It was not fun. That whole match was not fun. I'm glad I did it. I'll never do it again. John Wayne Murdoch said the same thing. I'm glad I did it. He did it twice, though, so I don't know if what he's saying is true.
Well, I'll tell you, the bump you took in Las Vegas a year and a half, 2 years ago now, where it split your back. That happened on the opposite side of the ring than Brant and I were sitting on. And when those things happen, you look at all the faces of the people that are looking down at you, and we're kind of invested in you, you know, and I'm sitting there going, oh my God, oh, please no.
Well,
please
we
no. It's
said
just
it
a
before
tear. It's
the
just
match
a rip.
started. We're like, that's not tied enough. Like this is not going to
said it to the referee as the match was starting.
In the ring. You said that in the ring. I think I heard you say it to him. I was like, oh God, this is not going to be good.
I was telling Brant, I was telling you, I was telling my wife, I was telling your wife, I was like, listen, this don't feel right. I'm watching everything get wrapped up, and Brant, you have training in all of this, and you're like, no, it shouldn't be wrapped this way. It's not wrapped right, and it should be like this and this. I'm like, oh fuck. And I'm over there holding goddamn barbed wire, and it's flying past my head. So the fans are involved trying to get this fucking rope up. Yeah. But we're all on the same team, so shit happens and you just go.
It was not fun. And another sad.
I forgot about that one.
It's Jimmy Lloyd's birthday party. And I show up, and he goes, we can't do glass at this venue, so we do a no-rope barbed wire match because we promised him a death match. And then Sabu comes up and goes, do it. It'll be awesome. And I'm going,
he was there.
What a fever dream this is. Sabu and Jimmy Lloyd telling me to do that. I said, fuck it. Let's do it. It's Jimmy's birthday. This thing was set up so poorly. I didn't change the match after I got in the ring. And yeah, I ate total shit on that. I fell to the floor. I got in the ring, and the ref, I don't even remember who was reffing, maybe Galt.
I think it was Galt, yeah.
And I said, how bad? And he goes, pretty bad. And I just kept going. And then I was supposed to go to the hospital to get it looked at. And I chose not to and had Matt Justice spray it with adhesive instead. I finally went to the doctor later that week, and she was like, no, it's already fucked up. You can't, it's too late. I told her I was helping my brother put up barbed wire, and I tripped. And she said, it's cold outside. How did it get through your shirt? And I said, I was shirtless. I heat up very quick because, you don't need him to know everything.
Right.
I forgot about that spot. Good call, Joe.
Do you have any nagging injuries right now, currently?
Crazily enough, no.
Fortunate.
I like getting out of the cage of survival with as minimal damage as I had. Somebody was watching over me because I should not have been able to walk out of that match with so few cuts and scars and breaks. And I obviously was bleeding and done, but in all of the death matches I've had, nothing has been extremely terrible. I will say the Art of War Games with the Briscoes in it, where the Briscoes eliminated Bussy. I did get a piece of glass in my elbow that day that a doctor tried to remove, could not remove, tried to charge me. I said, you can't charge me if you didn't get it out. And then I later pushed it out of my arm. Me and Joey at the same time, Joey Janela, had pieces of glass in our arm, I think from around the same time. Not good times. And that's sitting in you. You keep getting a little weirded out about when it's going to show up. So yeah, lots of weird injuries, but currently my body feels great. I'm heavier than I've been in a long time. You know, in 2021, I got down to like 180 pounds when eating right. I'm up to 230 now. I'm doing, weightlifting as much as I can. I avoid trying to set any PRs. I avoid trying to do anything crazy because my body is in good shape. I would rather do lighter weight and keep my body, working and great rather than risk it on, I'd rather hurt myself in a match than bench pressing or trying a heavy squat or, doing a compound lift that's going to mess something up. I keep my body in as good of shape as possible. I work out as much as I can, but I wrestle a lot, and I'm surprised. Like, my body's held up fine.
That goes right into the next question. Through hard work, your body has changed dramatically in the last 12 months. Do you look back and wish you did this sooner, or did younger EFFY need to have it? Did Twink EFFY need to have his time?
I think Twink EFFY didn't even know how Twink he was. And for me, it's been such an awesome journey as just a human being because I've wrestled at so many different weights. My body has looked a bunch of different ways. I have learned to accept myself in the form I'm in. And now the kind of fitness journey I've been on has been so much less about visually how I look and so much more about being able to do my job well and be able to operate in a 20-30 minute main event match, to be able to operate in moving opponents around who are whatever size they may be. I've got to be able to be in there and work long term and be able to handle my body and know what my body's doing. And I don't do the craziest moves of all time, but there's a lot of legs in the air, there's a lot of picking people up, there's a lot of moving around and moving and shifting myself to just focusing on, am I using my body well enough as a machine in my profession? I'm not worried about how I look in the ring, but luckily moving to just doing my job that way, I'm very confident in how my body looks these days. And I'm very confident in how I look and operate as a wrestler. And so, no, I don't think it could have happened earlier. And I think there's a lot of like scrappiness that comes to being that size and a lot of underdog that comes with being at a smaller weight. And now that, I'm at a bigger weight and I'm here, those underdog moments are going to get flipped around a little quicker because I have the power and strength I didn't necessarily have then. I mean, there's a reason a lot of my moves are leg based. And in 2018, I separated my shoulder and I thought I'd, never be lifting people above my head again. I altered my whole ring style at that time and kind of changed everything I was doing. But now I'm finding myself with my shoulder healed, with my body bigger, with my muscles bigger, and moving those kind of power move and power authoritative versions of the larger version of me into the ring has made me super dangerous. And so kind of mixing those two things, I think it came at the right time for sure.
It's changed your booking. I think that's awesome. And also it sounds like you're striking that balance between gaining strength and losing flexibility. And you kind of need to strike a balance in wrestling with that. And it sounds like you've kind of found your sweet spot.
Yeah. And even just the pick up and go, it took me a second to get used to moving an extra 50 pounds of weight around and finding out what kind of cardio or what kind of, hit cardio I need to do to make sure I can maintain this size and strength, but also still be as quick in the ring as I was, be as accessible to jumping, to moving, to going off the top. Like those things have to come into effect and it takes a little time to figure out, but I feel like I'm moving like a freight train right now.
And then with the added weight, do you feel less nervous about going into the ring when it comes to, you know what I mean? If you're up against the Stoner Bros 3 years ago, I think that you'd feel a little different going into that match versus the body that you have now.
Yeah, for sure. And it feels better to bump on my body. If I'm going to get beat up, if I'm going to get hit with moves, my body recovers so much better at this weight. And, the thin frame looks great for a promo picture, but truly my body was hurting so much more, bumping as much as I was, which is about the same as now, but not having the padding or balance. And like, I look at someone like a Kevin Owens, who's had so few injuries in, a 20-year career. And he's always had a little extra padding, a little extra weight, be it muscle, be it a little tummy, be it the Dusty Rhodes, where your body is just built better to take this kind of destruction when you have the padding, when you have the extra weight. And whether that's muscle or just a little extra on the tummy, like whatever it is making it easier to bump as much as we bump out on the road.
Real quick, we gotta not to change the subject, not to go off. We got a question from Blake Christian in the chat. Does Effie like the whips and chains?
Okay, I just want to say this about Blake Christian. Hold up.
Let's give him a minute.
let me just be clear, because people have a perception of Blake Christian that I don't know if they would understand like how much I respect Blake Christian. I don't think they understand how awesome he is for wrestling. This is a guy who came up the first day I met him was that same show in Tennessee, and I said to him, I said, brother, you're a babyface now, but I know what you are on the inside. You're a bad boy for life. You're a heel, brother. And he said, nah. And watching him take this high level of athleticism and this crazy, new unique style of moves, and seeing him, doing the Fosbury flop into the sting catch, into the low DDT, like no one's done that before. It's incredible stuff. And to have people turn on him because they're going, oh, you think you're so cool because you're the cool boy, when they thought he was a cool boy for a long time. And now seeing this version of Blake, he's been the GCW champion. He's been, on television. He's had Ring of Honor moments. He's been all over the place. And the people are still turning against him. And now you see this version of him that is starting to go deranged in the head and starting to lose his mind. And I think what people forget is, yes, this is a little more character driven for him, but the athlete that's in this character is still one of the most unhinged, crazy, unique, athletic people that we've seen in wrestling in forever. I mean, go look at some of his PWG matches. Go look at his matches as champion. Yeah, there's a lot of cheating. There's a lot of hobgobble. But what Blake is doing and his confidence in himself as a wrestler, when he says in the chat, Blake, let's do stuff tonight, go back and watch the matches we've had. We've had, I think, 3 matches, one in Albuquerque, New Mexico, one in Atlantic City, New Jersey, one in Detroit, Michigan. All of those matches are me coming to Blake going, they have an idea of you as a wrestler. They have an idea of me as a wrestler. Meet me in the middle on that. And the stuff he's been able to pull out of me, extending my workload, extending what I'm able to do in the ring, showing off capabilities of EFFY that weren't necessarily there, and then me pulling this character bit out of him and forcing him to be bigger than just an athlete and forcing him to be this grandiose version of himself. I think it's been really good for both of us. And I hope it's a feud that we can revisit down the line, because both of us have, very unique paths we're on in GCW and in wrestling right now. But he's someone that's always like sharpened my iron somehow. And we couldn't be more different guys. And yes, he is vanilla, baby. But those whips and chains, I think, people are a little confused right now. People are a little, not sure of what to think of it right now. Let it play out, because Blake Christian is somebody who, I think hasn't touched anywhere near what the potential he can bring to wrestling, not just GCW, but all of wrestling. I'm excited to see everything that he does. And listen, I've beat him before.
I like it.
I do like the idea of you two going at it again, especially since, again, you have the new body. The capabilities of what you two could put together to make a sandwich, I think, would be absolutely fantastic. And I always, when I get a chance, have a time to say it, I like Blake Christian a lot. I'm really cheering that guy on. I think he's got a decent head on his shoulders, and I feel that he's trying to do the right thing. And I don't see as much ego in him as I see in some other wrestlers, in the way that he's capable of understanding that, hey, one time I said, hey, man, this would have been great to see you in the main event on this. And he's like, John, did you see what just happened? I didn't need to be the main event. And things like that. I go, he doesn't have that butt hurt that some people may have. And
the ego.
Right.
Well, he's young, but he's seen a lot in wrestling so far already, where like it does kind of mellow you out. You are still able to bring this bigger version of yourself to performances, but Blake Christian is very aware of where wrestling is at right now. Blake Christian is very aware of what options are there and what to do. And I think like he's just going to keep doing weird, unique stuff. And it's fun to see that version of him, because we're still going to get to see the version in the ring that's like just like an unbelievable athlete, on top of just, well, it turns out he might be a fucking murderer. Psycho. I don't know.
I think that's well put. Like you said, like we're still going to see, like, it's not like we're losing anything with this new version. Like we're still going to see the athleticism and what's made him Blake Christian. But now we get to see, as you said, a different side of it. That's something I always like to see. And as you said, the character driven kind of part, we like to see these characters kind of growing and seeing them. And I think now with the Hammerstein show coming up and seeing all the different talent getting mic time and starting to be able to show their character more on GCW is very good right now, and I think perfect for going into Hammerstein to get the fans invested in it. But I think that's something that I do want to see a lot more in GCW, and I'm glad we're starting to see more other people get mic time as well.
And God bless the indies, and especially like God bless GCW, because these are led by the artists themselves. These are things that we come to GCW with, that are our ideas, that are our things that we get to flesh out with collaboration with other people, but we are still getting to go out and try these things for ourselves. And that level of experimentation you are not going to get. And I'm not saying it makes the product any better or worse at that level. I mean, they've experimented enough, but we have the chance out here to sort of go like, we can try something with the intention of making it the best possible, but we are not stuck in a way of having these ideas shot down before they are ever gotten to at least be experimented with or tried on, or, you know, see what works and what doesn't. We have that room to work over time and let things grow and see how people respond to them without immediately cutting things down, because, you know, wrestlers don't have the ideas. Wrestlers have the matches and we give them the ideas. And that kind of mindset has always bugged me about the sort of internal system of the bigger companies.
It feels like you guys are being heard, like literally heard by your ideas, and like it's going to get out there, as you said, the way you guys envision it.
Yeah, and there's plenty of times where Brett has said, I think this should be this way, and we go with that way. At the end of the day, like, that's the boss man. But to have your idea heard and fleshed out and have you listened to as an equal or as a creative, where, hey, here's what I think, I also would like the input of these other people. Nobody's ever just dismissive of like, okay, great idea, but here's what we're fucking doing. It's always sort of met with, you know, well, here, let's try that, or have you thought of this, or have you done that? And like, as a creative, you know, there is a bit of this freedom that comes with giving up, you know, a larger contract. But I think we are able to also see the internet and what's moving forward and the way distribution is going. And people are taking note of what's different. People are taking note of chances being taken. And it's great to have an audience that's willing to go like along on the ride when we're trying new things or trying different stuff. And it's always great to have a team backstage that goes, okay, well, if you think it'll work, let's give it our best shot to make it work, and not have people going, we're going to cut that thing, or we're going to mess up that thing, or we don't need all of that, with the intention of like, oh, see, your ideas weren't that good. We're on each other's team, whether it works or doesn't, in making these things happen and trying new things. You know, nobody's out to sabotage anything. We want to give everything its best shot to work.
I've also noticed with GCW and the independents, I've tried to draw it like skateboarding. You'll have a lot of WWE fans, mainstream fans that'll go, okay, this is how you skateboard. And there's a formula to it. And when you go into the indies, you start to see that they're over there making tricks. They're doing things that normally people wouldn't see done on a skateboard. And you have these hardcore mainstream fans that are like, no, you can't be doing that in a wrestling ring. You can't be flipping that skateboard like that. And independent wrestlers seem to be like, the hell you can't. Watch this. And then you get to see how things are. So you have to open up your mind as a wrestling fan when it comes to independent wrestling. You're going to see more humor. You're going to see different moves that you normally wouldn't see before. Sometimes innovation, not sometimes, a lot of innovation comes from the independent scene. And just like some large companies like Walmart, WWE's also can be slow to move on those things until they see some marked success. The Attitude Era is a great example. ECW was banging it out well beforehand, and then after they saw the formula had went on, then, you know, I'll just go into this question because you were kind of touching on it. You're unapologetically independent. Can you give us your philosophy on why you chose to be independent, maybe to sell someone on coming away from a contract, and what being an independent can do for one's brain and life balance and so on and so forth?
Yeah, I think that's you know, the biggest kind of revolutionary statement to open this up is sort of, I figured out early that the path to getting into a company and convincing them to change from the inside was, I mean, as political and superfluous and low chance of happening as possible. But I figured that if I really wanted to see the industry be different, I had to go do these things on my own to show them they were viable, and creating opportunities where, you know, LGBTQ wrestlers are drawing fans, where we are doing numbers for Effy's Big Gay Brunch, trying weird gimmicks, trying different things, opening up the acceptance, bringing new fans to wrestling. That sort of thing is the hope of these bigger companies to eventually go, wait a second, they're onto something, and move their business in that direction, rather than going, I'm just going to be so good at wrestling that they hire me, and then I'll be so good there that they pick me, and they'll pick me, and I'll be the gay one, and it'll be okay, and we'll fix it for everyone. It's, the pick me, I'm using words specifically, but it's like, these things don't work that way. You have to, these are publicly traded companies, not all of them, but the largest is a publicly traded company. They are not going to move their business in a direction just because somebody got hired and says they should do it. They're going to watch outside of themselves and see what is going on. They are watching the indies. I mean, even with the WWE ID thing, we've been seeing Gabe backstage at shows for months. We've been seeing him all over the place. I've been asked permission to allow him to be there a few times, and I think that's exactly the level of respect I should be treated with by promoters who are bringing him around. That's fine. But they are watching these things more intently than you think. I know GCW streams have been backstage at a lot of NXT and WWE events. I know people are watching what we're doing. And so now to be in the position of independence because of the internet, because we have no limit to the way we can get to people, if it is good, it will find the audience. And if it is very good, they will take our ideas and use them. And it sounds opposite, but that is the goal. If we want to see a business the way we want to see it, we have to go, look, it works every time, it works, and then have them follow in that footstep. I want to see the business change. And so to do that, I have to go put the flag up myself, and I have to go set my own standards. And I'm just a very picky, bratty person. I kind of always have been. You can ask my parents. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a bad thing. I want things a particular way, and I've said it in, in an inflammatory, wild way of like, I can't take direction from someone who isn't as cool as me, right? And I don't think people working at these companies are as cool as me. And so I cannot listen to them tell me what is the coolest way to be EFFY. But if I show them the coolest way and then they copy it, some people may say, oh, that's disrespectful. They stole from you. But in reality, that's all EFFY wants. I want to show you the correct way, and you don't even have to give me credit for it, because then when you do it, I know in my heart that I was correct, and that's really the only validation I need, along with being able to continue to work and make my money.
Now, you're very straightforward about who you are. You're very public about who EFFY is. But I just want to give you a chance to say anything you'd like to say about your character, something about you, EFFY itself, that you wish people knew better and would like to set straight. Do you feel there's any misconceptions? Do you feel maybe there's been a part of you that is waiting to come out in the next year or so that we need to look forward to? Anything there about EFFY that you put yourself out there? I'm actually talking myself in a circle specifically because I'm trying to find a place where you have not been open and honest. So do you have a spot?
Well, I mean, here's the thing, and this is where this is dangerous territory, right? To me, I've tried to break the barrier between these two separate kayfabes of EFFY, where there's EFFY when he comes to the curtain and is in a match, and there's this EFFY that is speaking to you now, and they are very different kayfabes. This EFFY is open and speaks on the business and lives, outside of the fourth wall, and is willing to talk about things behind the scenes, and is willing to, go into the aspects of the business as Taylor, as a performer, is dealing with, but giving it to you through the scope of EFFY. And I've tried to break that barrier down even more. I don't want you to think of them as two separate people. I want the mythological gay icon who's coming to the ring and having the match to be the same wink and nod to you at all times that is here backstage and is doing this. But to be honest with you, this year has been one of the toughest for me, because that separation, I've had to create that third separation, because I realized I was giving myself in the public between being in the matches and being this version of myself that is always honest and open, that I wasn't giving myself anything. And so I've scaled back a little bit of the outward appearance. I've scaled back a little bit of the public nature, and I've tried to make sure I'm giving time to me to just relax and be a human outside of what this thing is. And I have to explain to my partner all the time, he understands the schedule. We have a very different relationship than a lot of people, and he's been very respectful of it. But explaining here's how it is right now. I could not be making more money if I got a different job. I wouldn't make the money I'm making just jumping into another position. I did not mean for this to happen. And I think that's the funniest thing about EFFY through and through. When I started, I wanted to know what it was like to be in a ring. And then I wanted to know what it was like to get booked on a show. I wanted to know what it was like to have a match. I wanted to know what it was like to win a championship. I wanted to know what it was like to travel to wrestle. I wanted to know what it was like to get flown out to wrestle. I wanted to know what it was like to work for GCW. I wanted to know what it was like to run a show. I wanted to know what it was like to have a death match. You see that this keeps happening and happening and happening. And as I put it with him, you kind of oopsie daisy yourself into a revolution. I haven't had a break. I haven't had time off. I quit my job at the end of 2019, and then COVID hit, and I hit the ground running and have made my living as a professional wrestler exclusively since that time. The separation has to have this third part because I have not had a moment in the past 10 years where I have not been EFFY, where I've not publicly been EFFY, where I've not been out in public and recognized as EFFY, where I've not been living as EFFY. And so I just need that second separation of like a human who exists outside of wrestling and sort of creating a space for me that's not just EFFY, who is a behind the scenes figure and a public figure and an available figure. And I think it's helped me, create a little more of my mystique back, pulling back a little bit. There are some shows where I'm not as present as, typical, but some of that is like, I think people understand, like, it's okay for me to sit downstairs for a minute, to take a break, to take a mental health moment. And it's made me stronger, and it's made me choose my moments for presenting myself. And like this interview here, I haven't done many interviews in a long time because I have the podcast. I have my place to speak. I have this, outlet for me to say what's going on every week. And outside of that, I haven't felt the need to speak on myself more. But like with the way, GCW is building, with us returning to Hammerstein, with us going out, like I feel like there's not a better time for me to start putting my, game face on a little bit to say, look, I'm still out here. I haven't slowed anything down. Just because you haven't seen a promo from me, or you haven't seen an interview, or I haven't, there hasn't been a fucking think piece written about me in 2 weeks, which there has. It doesn't mean I'm not still out here busting my ass the same way. And I think, if the biggest way I'm planning on doing this is, this is going to sound fucked up, but I'm a PR guy, so I just got to give it to you straight. If I'm on Instagram, there's this, and I'm sure everybody sees it with all types. OnlyFans creators on Instagram will do this thing where they do a very simple dance to a song, repeat it over and over and over and over and over. And it's just a way to promotionally get into the algorithm. It's a popular algorithm song.
Yeah.
They do the dance. Hopefully people will come to their profile and want to go do the thing. And in my head, I'm going, how fucking dare you? I don't even think you should have the same match ever in your life. Whether you have similar moves or similar things, I don't even think you should ever repeat the match. I'm a live performer. Everything is next. And I thought, wait a second. There's hundreds and hundreds of hours of me talking, of me wrestling, of me promoing, of me being interviewed. All of these things are still here to me. I'm judging these people for remaking the same content over and over, when in reality, why am I even making more content when there are thousands of hours of me already doing the thing? So what I'm trying to do is fill those gaps in and fill that time with reintroducing people to things they missed about EFFY. Even tonight in the stream, showing matches from 7 years ago, 8 years ago, showing promos from when I was starting out and talking the same shit, reminding myself that I've consistently been a menace in professional wrestling if you are not behaving yourself or doing what I think you should be doing. And that these things are something I have created space for enough to where I can't forget that I am that bitch. I can't forget what I've already done. And I need to remind people over and over, because they're not seeing things the first time they come out, of these things that have happened, of these moments I've already had, of these moments in history along wrestling that for me, I have them, I do them, what's next? And I want to be able to use that to create that extra space to go, I've already done it, bitch. I don't need to redo this again. I don't need to re-say this again. I don't need to have 100 matches a year, probably, but I will. But I can acknowledge and use the footage that has already been given to me to show people what EFFY is all about, instead of having to continually be live and yell it over and over and over again, What I'm saying is you're very blessed tonight to have me. I'm sorry.
Hey, you know what?
You don't got to talk
about
that.
Man. It's been a struggle to get you here one way or another. And the minute we could, I'm like, you know what? Bam,
let's go.
Fucking do it.
We are very blessed.
It was either that, or I was going to have to chase you down in April somewhere. So, yeah.
Oh, good luck. I'm hiding in Vegas if I'm not in that ring. Vegas is a dangerous place for an EFFY.
No shit. I was going to tell you, just stay the hell away. You know where we are. We are.
Yeah, I'm coming to the hot tub, and then we can just go sneak in when it's time.
Yeah. Yeah. So originally, I think we were going to do that kind of an interview where we just sit at the house and kind of face to face, and it just never
We
happened.
may need
so
an upgrade. We may need
it
to
can
do another one again. April's, we got a little time in between. I think it's gonna happen.
6 months. Yes. So here's another insightful one. Who is the one person you'd love to sit down with and talk to, living or dead? And what would that conversation look like?
Oh my gosh, living or dead?
Yeah, and it can be personal, it can be professional. Some say they'd like to just see their dad. Other people, they'd like to talk to Adrian Adonis, or they'd like to talk to, whomever.
I saw my dad last week. He's doing great. He's awesome. He got a girlfriend. She lives in Bolivia. I don't know what to do. He's great. No, I choose Prince. Here's why. We were born on the same day. And every time I ended up wrestling at First Avenue with First Wrestling, some weird shit would happen because we have the same birthday. I feel like his spirit goes inside me there. I feel very close to Prince. I want to know things about, there's the reputation of Prince being a dick to his live band. Same with James Brown, similar circumstances where if they make mistakes, even in practice, they are fined. And it made him such a strong live performer to have these boundaries and have these things that, people are going to go outside and say, it's this and this and this. But he was still Prince, and the people are paying to see Prince. And I kind of try to remember that, where I don't ever want to be rude. I don't ever want to be a burden. But sometimes when I'm going to these venues or going to places or working for promotions, you're like, wait a fucking second. Hold up. I don't like to have to say it, but I'm fucking effy. I shouldn't be dealing with these difficulties. And kind of remembering the fans who are showing up to see Prince, to see Effie, are there for that. If I need to be a little dick to somebody backstage or be a little dick to somebody in a venue to get what I need that are very minimal needs, there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't reflect poorly on me to make sure my fans are getting the experience of me that they want. And I just have looked at his pizzazz, his style, his, use in multimedia, being in movies, his music videos, his live performances. There's just something very particular while also being somewhat chaotic, where he has a plan, but you're not really aware of what the plan is, and it's going perfectly to him, but it just feels like nonstop chaos, in a live setting. And I really admire that look from Prince.
You gotta keep his character too, and hugely as a musician. Holy wow! I've heard from his studio musicians that his personal studio, that he'd just sit there and write a hit, and he'd be like, nah, go ahead and erase it. And his band's like, dude, that's a hit. If you just put that on there. I think they said the vault's 40,000 some songs that just have not seen the light of day. And there are definitely some hits in there. So, and it kind of lines up with what you were saying. There's some hits in there, and unless you get it out there, it might not be seen.
And you might want to keep an eye out. So I heard there was a cool documentary on Netflix, but they never going to release it because the Prince people don't want it to be released, because it kind of does. Well, it goes over everything you said, but kind of does go into the perfectionism and what he held the standards to, that his band and his music and his name was. But it does also kind of do some really good stuff. So the person that made is Ezra Edelman, the same one that did the OJ documentary for ESPN. He did a really good one on Netflix, but they said they're never going to. It was only shown to a few people, but it's never going to see the light of day. But if it ever does, keep an eye out on it.
Maybe I got to go make some calls. I got some Netflix contacts, so we'll see. I'm sick of me calling.
So let's talk about your used to be bestie, Allie. Now we're digging in a little bit. We got through the fun conversation. Daddy and Mommy are fighting. It's just, Daddy and Mommy are fighting. I want to hear your side of the story from your perspective. What is Allie's problem with you?
So, depends on the day of the week. It can be really hard as a professional to be consistently on the road with someone all the time. And I think if you look at 2023, the amount of matches Bussy had was kind of spectacular. And, the end of that year saw Mance turning on me, saw, her not there at that moment, but we still had a lot of Bussy tag matches in the meantime. Even between me and Mance having these matches, we were still teaming. We won freelance championships. We were still doing extremely well. And I just think, she kind of felt put on the back burner. And I don't blame her for that, because I had a lot going on, but I also kind of, it enrages me a bit, because when she's had her problems, with Charles Mason, when she's had problems with other people, I've always been in her corner. I've always had her back. And I'm not saying she didn't have my back, but it just seemed like the patience to deal with Effie always having problems, or someone always targeting Effie, or the focus always being on Effie, like I think it eventually just eats you up. And like this is why it's so hard, because she's attacked me a few times. I've shown a lot of restraint, and maybe I shouldn't have. She's not someone I want to hurt. This is someone who I, spent more nights in the hotel room with her than I do with my partner at home, by a long shot. And we know each other so well. We know what pisses each other off. We know the problems we've dealt with. And she really knows how to dig a knife. I'll tell you that. And she knows how to, point the problem back to me. I listened to her last week talking about everything is Effie's fault. And, at the time in that week, it felt that way. And maybe it still is, but it does continue to feel like Mance Warner has sort of put this vibe out there that I'm not worth supporting. I'm not worth being friends with. And like, I think he's starting to have a point. It does seem like, if you're going to be friends with me, it ends like one of three ways. One, I guess we're still friends. I've got a few people to shout out Dark Cheek, shout out Manders, shout out Cole Radrick, shout out Alec Price. Like I've still got people on my side, but I also am a little, more paranoid these days because it makes sense to attack me. I get it. Like Mance does it and he becomes the champion. And what do I get? A haircut because I got my hair burnt off, a tattoo on the side of my head because I got my hair ripped out, staples to sell or whatnot because I got my head split open. Like the prizes for me, winning this feud have not been fucking fortuitous in any way. And, to see that kind of continue and then to see her, she says I wasn't there. Effie wasn't there. And I'm not getting into as complicated as that situation was, but, she had her issues. She was right on some things, she was wrong on some things. And I tried my best to assist in that. But like, also let me be a dick and say, like, I still have to focus on Effie. And if you're having these issues and I can't explain you through it and other people can't explain you through it, it's not that I'm not there. It's like, I just have to keep paying my bills. I have things to do. If there's a problem, I'm not going to throw you under the bus. I'm not going to stand at the table and go, yeah, Ellie's not here because she's fucking arguing with everybody. I'm not doing that. What I'm doing is saying, okay, well, hopefully we see her back soon. Hopefully she's around soon. I was in communication, but I guess it wasn't enough communication. And she felt, I wasn't there to support her in this difficult time. And that's, as much as I can say about that. But I feel like I was. And if she thinks that's enough to attack me, then attack me. And I can't stop you from doing that. But to come in and fuck up a title match, to me, that doesn't say, oh, I don't want either of you to be champion. I want to be champion. To me, that says, I think I can beat Mance Warner. I don't know if I can beat Effie. And I think she's now got herself in a bit of a turmoil because why wouldn't you, if I'm so weak, if I'm so susceptible, if I'm beatable, if I'm, aloof, if I need you to win, if I need you to save me, why wouldn't you want me to have the belt? Oh, I never want you to have the belt. Okay, that sounds good on the surface, but it sounds like you don't want me to have the belt because then you cannot have it. Mance Warner, the last person to beat him was Effie. So between these three, it's like it's starting to become a thing where I'm going, number one, Mancer's gaslighting you. Number two, you can't beat me. You want to admit it. You want to be so honest to everybody. Number three, this is working out for Mancer. This is working out great for Mancer. He got to keep his belt after the mall. He's about to powerbomb him on a fucking stack of chairs. I went through hell in that match, and you showed up and fucked it up again. I'm not going to stand around and continue to not just wallop your ass. And this isn't man-woman. This isn't, oh, she's small. Oh, I know you, Allison. I fucking know Allison Catch. And the fact is, she's going to get her ass beat because you have had every opportunity to be gracious to me, to be kind to me, to be respectful of the relationship we had as a tag team. I mean, former champions, the shit I dealt with after we lost those belts because of that fucking Los Macizo's match, I was in a courtroom for 2 years. I can't even get into that shit. Shit is not good all the time. And I feel like I protected her from a lot of that bullshit. And now I'm sort of getting thrown under the bus again. Once again, big surprise. But like at this point, like I can't fathom what else you can do. Like, what are you going to get my mom to stab me? Is that what we're doing next, Mance? Because you've got Cardona and Broski. You got Allie against me. You got everybody turning their back. You got Jinder Mahal, who couldn't get rid of me with his Bollywood boys. You got JBL. You got Bully Ray. Who else can you bring to stop me? You have run out of options. Nothing surprises me. I'm looking at every direction now. Like, what are you going to do? It's coming down to a point where now you got two people left to stop me, and I just don't see it happening.
I had a quick
That makes
question.
I was just going to say that makes the climb more beautiful. Go ahead, Ray.
Well, I was gonna say it kind of goes into our podcast that we're gonna be doing here and covering. I was actually just watching the show last night to try to get caught up, but so on the history of GCW Patreon, we are covering the World on GCW Part 2, and in that card, you and Alley Catch had, I think, one of the first matches you guys had in GCW. What can you say from Alley Catch at that time and what has happened to the Alley Catch from now, in your opinion? I know you said a lot on it already, but
this is what sucks because I'm very proud of her. And at the Tampa Big Gay brunch the night before, man split my head open, 8 staples in my head. I spent the whole night in the emergency room. Came the next day, still wrestled the main event of my own show. Bussy defeated MXM Mason Mansoor. And I begged her at the end of that show. I said, "You are such a talented wrestler. You are so good. But in the politest terms, as long as you stand next to Effie, who is loud, who is brash, who is opinionated, who has named our tag team Butt Pussy, let's be fucking real. They don't want you if you're involved with me. And I'm okay with that. I want to see you climb. I want to see you do things. I want to see you working on TV. I want to see you showing your full potential to what you can give to wrestling. And I'm begging you from my heart at this time last January, please do this on your own." And, in a sense, wow, proud of you, sis. You really did it. You pulled the fucking trigger. But in another sense, I'm going, I gave you every opportunity to move away from me. I gave you every opportunity to do your own thing. I would have supported you as a single star. I wanted to see you shine. I wanted to see you not held back by Effie. I don't want people held back by Effie. I know my relationship with Ricky Starks right now, but seeing the comments over and over about like, you fucked with Ricky's bag, you fucked with another wrestler's bag, you fucked with another wrestler's bookings. That's not what Effie's trying to do. Effie is a force because Effie doesn't have any consequence from you taking his bookings. But when you are blaming Effie and it's causing someone else to lose bookings or lose money, that's when I say, Alley Catch, sis, I love Bussy. I love us. I want to see what you can do without this, but you can't have it both ways. You can't be over every night walking out with Effie. You can't be in this huge tag team scene. You can't be a part of Bussy. You can't have the fan reaction and the merchandise and also be the Alley Catch that you want to be, that is taken seriously in a singles wrestling competition world, that is offered contracts, that is seen as someone who is viable for TV, because hanging out with the Bussy gay ain't gonna cut it, baby. I'm sorry. The industry has changed in a lot of ways. It has not changed so much that I'm not a detriment to your career moving forward. And to see her take the chance, yeah, part of me wants to be proud dad about like, go do your own thing. But also like, girl, when I gave you all these chances to get out, what the fuck did you do? You just sat there and said, what are we doing next? And I'm going, baby, I got a lot going on. I'm doing everything I can with you. I'm still in matches with you, but don't say I wasn't there when I've been asking you to go do your own thing, which could be at the detriment of Effie. I had a lot of Bussy bookings, right? This is a large part of my paycheck, but I'm going, hey, I think I can do it. I need you to be you and find out. And it just sucks for her to find out. She thought she had to throw me under the bus or treat me like lesser or, not think that we could still be friends in this process.
So it sounds like it was time to leave the nest and she's not happy that it was time, so to speak.
Well, or that, I tried to give her a little push from the nest and she decided to slap me on the way out,
Yeah. Yeah. So do you have any concerns that she may actually dish a little dirt on you? And, because here's why I ask. Mans can fuck with your people. Mans can fuck with your relationships a little bit. But when you're fucking around with female drama, you're going to get the real dirt, the real drama. I know where you were last night. All I have to do is make a call. I mean, do you feel like there is some concern there that it could get extremely catty versus the versus the Mance storyline? Because I feel like this one may dig deeper. Deep cuts.
I hope it does, honestly. I stand behind who I am. I don't make every part of myself public. I don't think I need to. I think me and Allie have had similar complaints about the wrestling industry at large over the years. And if she feels the need to dish out private stuff, to help her feel better, that's absolutely fine. She can do it. She knows Effie better than anyone. I can assure you that. But I don't, you hope she doesn't go too low, but if anything, throw it all out there. Let me get what I deserve. If I'm a
There
bad
seems
person,
a little trepidation right there.
well, of course it's trepidation. I don't listen. I'm in a hotel with this girl 200 days out of the year. I don't know what she's heard. I don't know what she knows.
She has a knife.
But
we know
she
that.
has and
That's
she has
there we go.
stabbed people in the ring before. Let's be perfectly clear. There's nothing I can hold back from her. I don't know Natalie Katch, and if she wants to speak poor of me, she can speak poor. But I hope I don't want to bring her down. I don't want to poke more swords in her. As corny as this is, I say this all the time. I saw Zeta Steel at VXS, and I said, I don't know how you do it. The girls, you've got to get makeup on, you've got to look pretty, you've got to be all made up, and you've got to present yourself with these people that are just going to disrespect you. I said, it just seems hard. I think for females in wrestling, it's harder than anything. I mean, even just getting ready, I can be effy and in my gear in 10 minutes. The longest part's going to be tying my fucking boots. The girls have to spend all day getting ready and doing makeup and being beautiful. To be in a fight, it's very difficult. I don't want to make it harder for her, but also baby, if it's me and you're in the way of the title, you say what you need to say, but I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get through this. And then I don't think that includes me, dishing her dirty laundry either. But if she focuses hard on winning the belt as she did on finding a man, she'd probably already have been champion.
So how do you?
Go ahead, B. I've jumped a couple times here. It's your turn, bud.
I just wanted to ask, how do you feel headed into that match at Hammerstein, knowing what you both kind of were the big focal points of why it kind of not any work on your end or Allie's end, but kind of your results of the match kind of affected a lot of what's been represented on a lot of fans' thoughts on Hammerstein. Now that you two have the opportunity to possibly face, one of you will possibly face Mance Warren in the main event at Hammerstein. How do you feel of you two getting the chance to make up for that moment that both of you kind of weren't able to get the first Hammerstein show?
We both got put in a tough spot, and we both did a lot of work on making that first show really good and putting the promo work in. And, the stuff Allie was doing was really incredible. And so, we kind of were, not big enough as a company to be able to make our demands, and things have changed a lot since then. But it is also a little difficult to think in the sense of not only do I have to face one of my best friends who's treating me like shit, but if I beat my best friend who's treating me like shit, I have to face one of my best friends who's treated me like even more shit. And the thought of that it puts a lot on my back, I think, to say, hey, we don't think this show measured up to a GCW show. We think we've had many, many better shows than what the Hammerstein show showed. I don't even think it was that bad of a show, but I understand the disappointment. I know what I was dealing with. And, I wouldn't have agreed to a lot of things if I knew how things would turn out, and that's fine. We have a responsibility to ourselves and to GCW to put on a fucking sick show. We have a responsibility to the fans to put on the best show possible. And I want to make sure if I'm going to be in that position to not only wrestle a tag partner who's turned on me very famously, and a tag team that has made up a big portion of a lot of the GCW history, that we do the best version possible of that. But also, I want to make sure that it doesn't feel like you're getting too much Effie on the show, that you're getting, too much of me all the time on the show. I want things to work out well for GCW on the show. I think there's a lot of surprises in store. I understand people are disappointed Ricky Starks has been pulled from the show. I think don't worry about Ricky. Don't worry about him being pulled. I've heard a lot of the discussions on the backstage, and I think you will be pleasantly moved when you see what direction we're going in. And I hate that it has to be this moment where one of us is going to reign supreme and one of us is going to have our dreams and goals pulled out from us again. But it's a big pressure, but it's an exciting pressure to get to have this chance again with her to kind of showcase, the type of wrestling we're able to put on here.
Two things I want to mention. Number one, her promo package at the first Hammerstein show is one of my favorites. I think it was a very well done package. I felt that her work in it looked heartfelt, and I think it really, was a fantastic job. And then number two, your Bussy tag team run. I don't know when you both sat and looked at each other and said, we're going to take this serious. But the moment that run got serious, I mean, it almost felt like you hit the ground running like that. That was unexpectedly just fantastic. As two people who review constantly, we didn't see much more of the Bussy tag team run, more than maybe it would have been a transition between, you know, this next team to this. And it ended up being its own monster. And I just wanted to say kudos to both of you, because no one saw what you both did in that ring on your run coming at all. So
Thank you.
kudos to that.
We both got put in that position as kind of like outcasts. We don't know what to do with you. And I don't mean that negatively, but I think Brett was looking at two performers who like, yeah, we're wrestlers, but we also like, we're a little goofy. We're a little funny. We're silly a little, you know, we're getting people to the shows that are pretty casual and pretty new to wrestling. And so I think it started as first as like, okay, well, we've got each other. We just better make the best of it. And then when things started picking up and we started kind of seeing the reaction we were getting from people, we were also like, damn, like we're actually pretty good at wrestling too. We really got to blend these things, you know, not just be a sideshow actor, not just be a silly act that comes out, and both kind of feeling stilted. I mean, the reason we were called Bussy in the first place is because people were so offended by the idea of men and women tagging together. We could barely get booked to do it. So I said, oh, well, if you're offended by that, here's something else to be offended by. And there were a few teams before that that were doing kind of man-woman stuff. But, you know, with a lot of the stuff after speaking out, with a lot of things that went down, you know, having two platonic, you know, somewhat having two platonic pansexual viola players in the same tag team, you wouldn't really expect us to turn it up and make it happen. But, you know, getting to win those belts from the Briscoes, getting to, you know, defend those belts for over 100 days, getting to take those on the road and represent GCW, it was a big pat on our back and a big wake up to, hey, we can be all of these things. We can be professional wrestlers. We can be entertainers. We can be fun. We can be silly. We can be dead ass serious. And I think it gave us both an opportunity to kind of wrestle the way we wanted to wrestle, but also to turn up the heat and kind of try new things and, you know, utilize both of our strength as much as possible. And obviously it's very successful. It's very good, but, you know, like I said, things can't last forever, unfortunately.
So then this was going to be the part of the show we were going to talk about AEW and Con. And I know you spoke extensively, I would think, in the beginning, because you came in here hot.
I got excited, baby.
Hey, fuck yeah. You know, the way it is, though, is we're nice and calm and collected. We like to slide it in nice and easy, and then we go from there. So, yeah, we talked about Allie. So I'm going to just go back on this for a second, only because I want to see if there's anything else that needed to be said. And if there isn't, that's fine. What I wrote here was that with the fans, what I'm seeing is they're split. One side feels that what you said with Tony and AEW was wrong because it was bad-mouthing business or a business partner publicly. But others also believe it's your right to say whatever you want because you're expressing your personal opinion and feelings as you please. And most of that was done primarily on a paid private service. Sound bites can sometimes lack important context that's necessary to understanding your statements in full. You don't have to, because I felt like you may have, but would you like to expand further out from that soundbite and clarify anything for the listeners on any points you tried to make, or did you feel you've done that earlier in the show?
No, I have plenty to say. First, I want to cackle a little joke. I was talking to my uncle last week with my dad, and they said, yeah, you know, Billy, he'll get real fired up about something, and he'll say something that sounds just emotionally like he's fully invested. And then once he says it, he does not care even a little bit anymore. And I find myself making grand, opinionated statements, and especially being in an environment like doing the podcast, like I'm just across the table. You can see the videos on YouTube. I'm just across the table from my roommate, who we are very good friends. We get along very well. Not the biggest wrestling fan, Pitar. You know, he's seen wrestling. He loves wrestling that he's seen, but he's not seeking it out on a regular basis. So a lot of the times when we're talking, it's very casual. And that's on me for forgetting that sometimes things go up and they have a much larger audience than we're used to on just the long-term show. You know, the statement I made that seemingly was what pissed him off was about his dad paying him to stay away. And I think those words were pointed. And to clarify, I would like to say that I don't think Tony Khan has ever been the best person who interviewed for a job, and that's why he got it. I think he's been given a lot of positions. companies his father owns. I think he's been given a lot of fluff PR positions. I do not think that he was ever the best technical person for any of the jobs that he has listed. I think the first time he ever actually did any real work was firing CM Punk. That's why it was so emotionally exhausted for him. All I'm saying is we were frustrated because there is not this radius clause that we thought was built in for this, that in 3 years since GCW has run the Hammerstein Ballroom, they have not attempted to run this venue, not one time. And 1 month before we are announced to be there, after we are announced to be there publicly, after this is already set, they have announced 3 days to run at Hammerstein. It just seemed odd to me that 1 month before, over a 3-year period, was the only time this venue has ever come up. Yes, historically, Ring of Honor has run there. ECW has run there. WWE has run there. We have run there once. We are not the primary wrestling function there, but it is weird timing to me. And I said we could not be in the same position that Tony Khan was in, because yes, AEW lost $36 million last year. That's public knowledge and public information. If GCW lost money like that, we would not exist. We rely on our streaming money. We rely on ticket money. We pay fairly here. It is not my company. I don't own this company. You know what I do? I run shows occasionally with Brett, and I'm paid fairly to do that. I am paid fairly to show up and wrestle matches. I am advertised. I'm an independent contractor. I do not get a paycheck from GCW. I'm not paid to do appearances for GCW. I am booked by GCW. I'm appreciative of that. What I'm saying is they are in a different boat. We are filling the small venues that we are filling everywhere around the world that we're going to. They are smaller venues. They are not filling the larger venues that they are running around the country. They are larger venues. They are a television company. Why is the timing 1 month before the only time in 3 years we have chosen to run this venue? I don't know. Did it upset me? Personally, it did. Does it make me want to work harder and put on an even better show for our people? Absolutely. I'm going to be a little shady, but it is odd to me that these statements a week or more after they were released were chosen in this context with 200 likes on TikTok, with a few more likes on Twitter. I'll give it that, to be the reasoning to pull Ricky Starks. I think it's clear that like Effy can talk all the shit Effy wants, and it only matters if it benefits you to shun Effy for talking the shit. I talk shit all the time. I'm fairly certain, and I may be speaking big here, when Ronda Rousey wanted to make a big return right in the week of her Wrestling Revolver match with Billy Starks, my TikTok started going viral about Ronda Rousey, about how at the time, she since renounced it, at the time, she did not believe Sandy Hook happened. She had questioned the existence of a school shooting. At the time, she had made very transphobic statements towards partners or people in fights that were asking to have fights with her. And at the time, and still, she was a terrible professional wrestler. This video goes up. She has one Ring of Honor match that weekend. And then the week after, for some reason, she is announced as retiring from wrestling. I'm not saying they had anything to do with each other, but if they did, this is probably a long time coming for Tony Khan to take it out on Effy for ruining one of his little things because I brought up facts. This is me being on the radar of a company that doesn't want to acknowledge my existence. You don't say my name backstage. I don't exist until I need to exist. And when I'm a reason for you to pull Ricky Starks from shows, then therefore Effy's words are very important. They're so cutting. They're so jarring. And I don't understand with some of the things Tony Khan has personally said about other people that he would have the thin skin that is required for this to be what sets him off. But once again, I also am understanding that this is probably something he's been told many times in his life by people. I can't imagine having a billionaire father and not hearing something like this earlier. And I'm sorry that I was the one that cut it through to you, but I don't think I'm saying anything outlandish. I don't think I'm saying anything false. I don't think I'm saying anything that should risk the reputation of an entire company. I'm someone who works at a company. I don't represent GCW. I represent Effy. And that's how Effy feels. And I think it's, clear that I'm not doing someone else's bidding. But it is odd to me that this was chosen as such an important thing or such a terrible thing. And how could I bring family into this when he's been on the show too? And you're a character on the show, and these things are very public. And I'm allowed to be emotional and mad. And if you want to take it out on us, great. I do not think in the long term that this is going to make you look good. I think people will defend you right now. But in the long term, what it looks like is anybody who works for us or doesn't work for us needs to speak about us a certain way, or there will be problems. And I don't like the way that feels. It feels a little fascistic to me, feels a little control the free speech. And it's a private industry. They're a private business. They can make and choose business decisions however they want. But if they think that punishing someone or punishing a company because someone said something is a good look for them long term, I don't think that's the case. And I may look wrong here, but looking at kind of the guys that have gotten out of contract, your Ethan Pages becoming NXT champion, your CM Punk's being on WWE and moving a lot of ratings now, Cody Rhodes being a WWE champion. If I was Tony Khan, I'd be scared shitless right now with the Royal Rumble around the corner of anybody getting out of their contracts. So I understand that they've got, their right to their business to make sure these people are staying on contract and not disappearing or hearing bad things out on the indies about their company or whatever it may be. I understand pulling Ricky. I understand blaming Effie. I still can think the whole thing is so fucking silly and stupid and juvenile. And none of that is reflective on GCW's views. That's just what Effie thinks.
Has there
That's extremely well said. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Me and Brent are on the same wavelength. And when this happens, we just boom, boom, boom. So, my buddy, I'm so sorry for.
No, you're good, man. I was just going to ask.
Excited. It's great.
Yeah, we're definitely excited. That's for sure. Any conversation with Ricky since that's happened?
Yep. And that's all I'll say. I've had multiple conversations with Ricky.
Okay, so Ricky's we'll say, I'll, you know what? I was going to say that real quick. I think a lot of people forget that a lot of these wrestlers for years were working together and friends before AEW came along. All you have to do is look at the back catalog. I've said this 100 times. You can look at any AEW pay-per-view and at least 50% of those performers had appeared on GCW years beforehand. So, I mean, I don't want to say we because I'm not a part of it too, but we have seen GCW talent move forward and keep doing their thing. And we will see AEW talent eventually come out of their contracts eventually, as some will. And I think we will see a small flood come back onto the independent side in time.
Well, and I want to say this too, just to be clear. I have always, if you've been to an Effie seminar, if you've talked to Effie, if you've been backstage with Effie, my goal for you is not to be Effie. I understand there are restrictions to the independence that I've chosen, but I am pro wrestler. And all that means is if you are a wrestler in the business, I want you to make as much money as possible. I don't care if you're on TV. I don't care if you're on a contract. I don't care if you're taking instructions from Christopher Daniels. I don't care how you do it. As a wrestler, I support you getting paid to wrestle, however that is. But Effie will never be on the side of corporations that are involved in wrestling. And Effie will never be on the side of people who are making decisions for people who hurt in wrestling, who have never taken themselves into the ring. So when I'm pro wrestler, just trust that the rest of your business is up for discussion. And if you're steering wrestlers to not making the most money they can make or not putting them in a position to succeed, then I think you should be up on the chopping block. And that's just Effie's opinion.
I like that too. You said it's just Effie's opinion. So strictly it's you, not GCW, not the, enough with the fire and flame in 100 different directions. You're like, look, this is me. These are my own words. This is coming out of my mouth. Thank you. I think that is the right way to be.
Yeah, but also like, how silly of you to validate the little indie boy out here, Yeah. Goodness gracious. They wouldn't have said anything about me if you didn't mention me, but everybody's got to mention me.
You've became quite popular in the last couple of weeks, more than the average. I wanted to say
I don't know if I call it popular.
You know what? All press is good press.
Yeah, you're right.
I wanted to bring this up just to switch gears, only because the audience, our audience, your audience very well. Is there any news on Effie's big gay brunch in Las Vegas, or is it too early to talk about that?
Confirmed. Effie's Big Gay Brunch in Vegas, confirmed. We will be at the Pearl Theater of the Palm. Very excited. I think it's the biggest capacity crowd we're going to have for Big Gay Brunch. I took a break from Gay Brunch. Now, granted, I did one in England back in September. It was handled for the most part by other people. I was brought in. It was fantastic and easy. But over the course of April of this year to April of last year, I did 6 Big Gay Brunches. I was worn out. Like, consistently, like just by quantity, I'm one of the most booked people in all of wrestling. Like, more so than like MJF worked 9 matches last year and I worked 113, you said. So a little different in work schedule, and he made a lot more money, and that's fine. But I am quantitatively doing a lot. And then on top of that, running these shows, and I truly care about the shows. I want people to shine. I want to book new talent. I want to give people opportunities. It is emotionally so draining to do it. And it is so draining to have boundaries, and I want everyone to succeed. And like, I don't even think I should be wrestling on the big gay brunches, but granted, they have my name on them. Taking that little break from having to run brunches, taking that break from Chicago, taking a break from Royal Rumble coming up, it's going to lead to a better product when we return in Vegas. I have had time to get my brain right. I know what I'm doing now. I feel very confident about the card we can put on in Las Vegas, very confident about the talent that we're able to bring in. And I think it's going to be something like you've never seen before, the biggest big gay brunch yet. And technically, it is the 10th big gay brunch with GCW and will be the 13th overall, including the England big gay brunches. Lucky 13, right?
10th anniversary.
I also want to say something that I think Effie, but this is coming from one of our listeners, Great One, who is one of our, I would say that's our West Coast correspondent. Vegas has a loaded queer wrestling scene. What a fit. 100%. If somebody dropped out, let me tell you, there's at least 30 performers that would love to have a spot on that show. Vegas is loaded with all kinds of wrestling companies that are just friendly. And we'll have Wednesday night shows here.
And you're seeing these companies that, not only are they more open and diverse to newer talents that are coming in that are LGBTQ, diverse in race and diverse in gender. There's so many different performers now, and they can all tell a very different story because they have unique perspectives. And the companies that are flourishing now are able to run shows now, they're seeing the value in these performers because they're bringing in fans that they're not used to seeing. But like you said, like a scene like Vegas, the local scene is already stacked. And that's another thing that makes these shows so hard is, I don't want to run a show that runs so fucking long and has 100 people on it and it makes everything else feel insignificant. But I also want to run a show that features as many of these talents as I can, puts them in the position to succeed and books them, to their strengths. And so like, I feel a real responsibility to make sure I'm booking this thing to the best of my ability because I don't want to leave people out accidentally. I don't want to not be aware of the scene. Like for me to wrestle as much as I wrestle, I also probably watch more wrestling than about anybody because I want to be on top of who is next, who is coming, who is on the up. I see somebody starting to pop off. I want to see what they're about. I want to see what they do. Brett kind of has that same mentality of like, let me book you. Let me see what you do in a year. Let me book you more. We want to see you flourish outside of just us booking you, but I also want to give you the platform and give you the boost if I can. If I see you're busting your ass and you're working hard and you're making these shows and trying everything, I want to be able to reward that in the position I'm in now. And it's like, it's a little emotionally exhausting to figure out that balance and put on a show that's great for the fans and doesn't waste their time, especially with as many shows as are running during those periods, but also putting on a show where like, not only did you see a bunch of your favorites, you got introduced to new talent that you may not have seen otherwise.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to mention about Big Gay Brunch is just, I think the last one that went down, you almost had to step away from your DMs for a while because the amount of talent that gets a hold of you, easily I would say about 100 or so, just constantly coming in. They want to work this show. So you have a pick of the best out there. And I feel like it went from, hey, I'd never seen this one, I never see this one, to, hey, this one's been on fire for years now, and we've finally been able to get them in the door. And it went from decent shows to really, really good shows. And I feel like every Big Gay Brunch since then has just been better quality wrestling with better quality wrestlers. And I think that says a lot about the community and the industry as a whole. And I think you're right. I've watched these as, again, just a regular straight guy. There are quite a few wrestlers I had no idea. Venny especially was one that just popped off. It took one match and I went, holy shit, where was this person all this time? And you made a point. They're just sometimes not being given the opportunities. And I just wanted to tell you, at least when it comes to this perspective, again, kudos for just doing what you're doing for the community and for wrestling as a whole, because I do think you are pushing a large rock up a hill here. And I feel that the rock that you're pushing up that hill still is a lot further than others before you were capable of getting at. So great job being the arrow, the tip of the spear on that in this current generation.
And just to kind of speak on it, like, let me pat my back for a second, because one thing I've noticed, like, you can say whatever you want about me, the industry of professional wrestling, the entirety of it, if I do not exist, looks different. I'm sorry. That's the facts. I look at cards, I look at companies, I look at shows, I look at bookings, and I see these talent that were getting their first steps from the Big Gay Brunch, or getting their first steps from, being a part of those shows, flourishing and being a bigger part of the scene, where we're not just this sideshow. Oh, here's where the gay guys work. No, these people were getting this booking with Big Gay Brunch and then going back and getting picked up by more local indies, getting picked up by more bookings, getting more storyline opportunities, getting a chance to show themselves fully, and not just, well, you can be in the 6-minute gay match. It was changing the way things were booked. And I think it's, changed the discussion on a lot of things. And so, like, for good or for bad, wrestling looks different without me. And I take that responsibility, like, very seriously. And I want to continue. I think with it being a GCW show, one of the first conversations me and Brett had was, it still has to be GCW wrestling. I pride ourselves on the type of wrestling we do. I pride ourselves on, the level of wrestling that we're at. I think if you look 20 years ago, TV wrestling was a different level than indie wrestling was a different level. And now I would put our people against, the best in the world on TV as performers, as professional wrestlers, as trained entertainers, and to be able to capture the best version of those people who are coming in, who haven't had that shot before. And Brett will tell you, he goes, it's not that I didn't want to book these people. I didn't know they existed. And you have brought this depth of knowledge in these people that they wouldn't have been on my radar if you hadn't have shown them to me or wanted to book them or brought them in. And, the first few brunches when I was bringing up people's names, he'd be like, who? And I took it, as him being disrespectful, but he genuinely didn't know some of these people. And once they started to get booked, you saw a little bit of that mix across the regular GCW. You see that mix across the indies, and getting to then come into other places and work with people who have booked at Big Gay Brunches. That's even cooler, because then it's like, yeah, you worked for me, but now you get me, and we are going to have the best version of ourselves put out for your audiences and your companies and your people that maybe you haven't gotten to show that version before.
We've talked about kind of how EFFY's Big Gay Brunch, after each show, it kind of feels like it could be its own little side promotion with GCW, with the stories that you're telling, the feuds, and as you said, introduce a new talent. Like, for me, Karam was the big one in LA.
Oh, yeah.
I've never heard of Karam before. And
so he's going by Zico now. He's got a whole new version of himself, and he's as big and muscular and hardcore as you can imagine. But this version of Zico is a little more loose cannon and wild and party and free, and it's been really fun. He's been doing a lot of tag teaming with Roji Raju and guys up in the Michigan scene, and kind of seeing him flourish that out and find this version of himself. We're like, I've known him for years, and I didn't know he was gay for a long time, and I don't know if he knew he was gay for a long time. And finding that version of himself has made him such a more confident performer. And, like, for us to go and portray characters, like, some people are like, oh my gosh, Effy, you're so yourself. And in some senses, like, thank God you didn't notice why I'm myself. And it's because I'm lazy as fuck. Like, I can't be anything but myself. But you find that performing as a character is so much easier when you don't have to be a character all the time to yourself. And so for these people to live authentically 100% as the people they are and get to be this bigger version of themselves, they're not having to fight through faking it 2 layers in. This isn't an inception of faking it. This is someone who can be a character and be a wrestler and be a person who is big and grandiose and the biggest version of themselves, and then go backstage and not be worried about the regular version of themselves messing that up, or messing up a relationship, or making it weird to book them somewhere. They're able to authentically 100% be themselves and just be respected for their performance. And I think that's really, like, it's eye-opening for a lot of people to get in on, because they wrestle as a version themselves they're not really used to being. And it's the best version, and it's the most fun version to be.
Okay, Effy, easy questions. We've had you for 2 hours. Let's go easy, a little bit of more spitfire, have some fun, reasons to smile. You can see how tough we are on our interviews.
I'm more tough on myself. You hear me,
Oh, right there.
So there's a Zico interview up. Sick. Love Zico.
Thank you, boss. We love Cassidy. We love Body Slam. It's so nice to have him. He is. I'll just spend a second to just say Cass is so super nice to us. He's very kind to us, and he's very open to whatever we need when we need it. So thank you so much to Cass there.
Yes, thank you, Cass.
Okay, easy questions. Easy questions. Effie, where's the dogs? Are they sleeping?
Oh, Bebop's right. Hold on. This is good. Hold on.
Yeah, let's do it. Now we're having fun. I love my dogs.
Oh no!
Wow.
Oh, they
Nice,
green
green
screened his
screened
shark
him.
costume. This is Bebop. He was just on the bed. He's pretty sleepy right now.
He's like,
He's
why
He's in
do
his
we
shark
do it?
costume. Lucy's in the other room. AJ has cranberry over at his house. This is my little cuddle buddy. He's crazy. But
He's
he's
like,
Also-
very
down.
sleepy. You sleepy, Bobby?
I like seeing pictures of you and AJ. I'll just bring that out too. You guys are great.
Yeah, we've taken less of them recently, but not for not trying. We did go to Hawaii together. We kept taking pictures of each other and not together because we're fools. But Hawaii was very fun. I got Bebop in my lap now. This is good.
And also, just to get it on record too, Pitar is fantastic. He has a voice like powder. One of my favorites to listen to.
Really crazy that we ended up doing this podcast together because we were living in the same building when I moved to Atlanta with AJ. He was above me, and he was doing a different podcast at the time, which I think you can find called Religion the Podcast, and that ended up stopping. And I was just like, listen, I was coming to his house every week. I'm telling him these crazy stories. He's like, we really should record this. And I said, I'll do it if I just sit down and record and you handle everything else. And Pitar has handled everything else. Incredible. Like the Patreon has been magic. The content is constantly going up. I'm the worst part because I'm so hard to get a hold of and schedule with, but we have made it work. And now, like, this sounds crazy, but AJ has his own place. It's fantastic. And we've never been better. Me and Pitar live together. So Pitar watches Bebop with Lucy during the weekends when I'm gone. And we get to record from the house. And it's awesome. We just do it on our own schedule. We make it magic and try our best. Okay, wait. I'm going to go pee real quick. And
No, by all means, because we're just doing Spitfire fun questions.
Good.
You're good. I'm going to give you a heads up, but while you're peeing on your way back, we do show and tell. If there's something you find around that you'd like to talk about and show everybody, by all means.
That's good. All right, give me 1 second.
Yep. Oh my goodness, B, it's been a good night so far.
This has been fun, yeah.
This has been a very fun night so far. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, I just got I've got like 19 messages that came in. I'm so sorry, everybody. We've got a lot going on over here. Okay, let's just take a break for a second here. This is my new tie-dye shirt. Just let you know, my wife made this for Christmas. Festive as fuck, boys and girls. Just had my birthday a couple days ago, so I'm now halfway to 90. Yeah, you know. But yeah, everything's going good so far. Thank you, everyone, for being kind in chat with each other. It looks like everything's good there.
It's been a nice chat tonight, yes.
It has been a good chat. This second half of the chat is going to be a lot more colorful, a lot more fun. This is going to be just about smiling and enjoying each other. If you want to know some more personal things, this is where we're going to go on this next little chunk. I don't see us working another 2 hours, guys, so don't sweat that whatsoever.
I'll make sure of it. No,
yeah. B is the guy who wants to make sure he is definitely off here by a certain time. He works in the morning, so bless him for being able to do that. Yeah, Clown, your wife's new tie-dye shirt. Thank you so much.
I say that one looks cool, the red or green one.
Yeah. This is just a basic Christmas one. We had some extra dye, and she was like, okay, let's fucking do it. So I have the same 7 or 8 tie-dye shirts, and if I use one every week for the show, I'm out in 2 months. So I try to... Yeah, so I need to make some new ones, but
well, so far I'm happy that we could confirm that Effie's Big Gay Brunch will indeed be a part of GCW Collective Weekend this year. So that was nice to hear.
Yeah, let's see here. Can you ask?
I will star that question. I got a couple starred questions here.
Okay, so yeah, I saw here we asked one of the fans asked about let's see here. So sorry, as a new fan, can you recommend Magic?
I'll cast the
yes.
You've been putting up good articles right away too. We noticed that last week. That was amazing. That was quick work by you.
Oh yeah, there we go. I kind of like Effie's share.
I'm starting
I
these ones.
I like when he grabbed Bebop and the rainbow.
Like a robotic dog.
Okay.
That's funny.
Let's see here.
Love
Let's
you,
see.
Cass.
I see some more questions coming in. Love you, Cass. Have a good one, man. We'll be talking soon, I'm sure. Okay, yeah. So we've just been doing tie dyes.
He's coming
fun.
back.
Oh yeah. We have to no more talking shit now.
He's coming back. Be quiet, guys.
Okay,
He's
yeah.
coming back.
No
All right,
talking
he's here.
shit. He's back.
I did it.
All right. Everything come out okay.
No.
I love
There's
that.
blood. No, I'm kidding.
That's the other problem.
He's
No, we're
pissing
good,
at a
we're
90-degree angle. All right.
Bebop
So
keeps
we'll
coming
go.
over now.
Any superstitions or rituals before you go to the ring?
I do call in response to my song, usually to myself, sometimes out loud.
Nice.
When are you going to come down? When are you going to land? Never. No, not. Other than that, I don't know. For me, before a match, the only thing I can think about is the match. It's really like I've described it as if you were in the circus and you were getting shot out of a cannon every night. What the fuck else are you going to think about before you get shot out of the cannon every night? There's nothing else you can think about. There's before you get shot out of a cannon, and then there's after you got shot out of a cannon. You're like, I got shot out of a cannon. I'm great. This is cool. I feel awesome. I'm up all night. But before you get shot out of a cannon, you're like, fuck. I've been shot out of this cannon before. I know what it feels like. It's jarring every time, but I got to get shot out of this cannon. So like, I don't know how to really relax before these shows because I'm like, I got to go get shot out of this cannon. And when it's all the time, you're just like almost mad at yourself for reacting and being like, come on, dude, you've been shot out of the cannon. Why are you even worried about it? But you want to make sure every time you get shot out of the cannon that you land. So there's always a little concern.
Well, let's picture that you have landed in your nice, comfy bed. It's the next morning, your day off. What are some simple things that make Effie's day better?
Coffee. I've been using the same French press forever, and luckily Pitar is a coffee head as well. So whenever we wake up, and usually Pitar wakes up before me, if it's a day off situation, the coffee is flowing. And I've had the same French press that I brought from like a Chinese restaurant warehouse for like 10 years. So we've just been filling this French press. I even filled it up tonight. I drink coffee all the time. I love coffee. It's a beautiful pleasure. Now we have a house with a yard, so I get to go out with the dogs in the morning in the yard, take things in. We got a little porch, drink a little coffee out there. So I try to keep it pretty peaceful at the homestead. And that's, other than that, it's cinema, baby. Cinema.
Who are you drinking on? Is it you a Starbucks guy, Maxwell House, Sanka?
I'll be honest, I follow the Kroger sales. I'll drink a Kroger brand, morning roast, no problem. It's all about the creamer though. I used to be a black coffee guy, and now I'm like, let me get some creamer. And I've been fucking with a coconut cream pie one recently. I love all the holiday flavors.
Almond Joy.
Oh yeah. Listen, Peter, not a coconut fan. I'm a big coconut fan. I like to, have a little treat. It's my little treat. Also, I love ice cream. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm a French vanilla guy. Love French vanilla in coffee.
I got French vanilla in the fridge right now, along with the coconut. We keep options.
All right. Favorite fast food. Where's your favorite fast food spot, and what you eating on?
Okay, most of the time I got to say the only thing open is Taco Bell or McDonald's. I would choose Taco Bell, but I'm not like too grown for McDonald's. I will eat McDonald's. One of my favorite memories of this year was me, Oni El Bandito, and Microman in a car together. And I took them to McDonald's and I bought them both quarter pounder with cheese meals. That's what they wanted. And then I told them my only Spanish phrase. Microman does not speak any English. Bandito speaks a little bit. And I said, lo siento por la música, mi es mucho homosexual, which is sorry for the music. I am very homosexual. And I just listened to Troye Sivan and Kylie Minogue, and we drove through a snowstorm and ate McDonald's together. It was magic.
What was the song? Kylie Minogue, you said, what was it?
It was just a lot of Kylie Minogue, a lot of Troye Sivan, maybe a little Charlie XCX. It was a gay disco playlist, and we were going in.
Kylie Minogue does not age. She
No.
looks the same as she's done from the 80s video with the locomotion. Like she's never
perfect.
aged.
She's fantastic. She's coming back to Atlanta. I'm hoping it's on a weekday. I just found out the Kendrick Lamar SZA concert at the Mercedes Dome is on a Tuesday. Shout out artists who perform on weekdays in Atlanta. It is magic.
What did you have up there from Cassidy?
Oh, he was just
What did
saying,
you have up
Effie, Sawyer, Cassidy, and his ex had a family dinner at McDonald's before.
We did, very much so. What a life. What a life we've led.
What's your favorite family recipe?
I actually had one of them printed in the indie cookbook, and I never saw anybody make it or try it. And it's what my grandma would call Mexican steak. And she would make cheap ass steak in a crock pot. You cook it, and then you put salsa in it, and you cook it more. And you make sour cream cheese rice, and you serve that salsa steak over that sour cream and cheese rice, and it fucks.
That
It was like
sounds good.
Christmas tradition dish.
That
It's just
sounds
like the
good right there.
cheapest steaks, and I think there's maybe a can of mushrooms and some salsa. I think you do diced peppers, cheese, and sour cream in that rice and steam it like a casserole. Ooh, every time.
Wow.
Every
Is
time.
that
I
Tex-Mex
gotta
or
get
is
this
that
book.
Southern?
I think it's Tex-Mex. My mother was born in, I believe, where the Astros? Houston? She was born in Houston.
Houston.
And then they moved to Florida. So I think this was grandma's missionary Tex-Mex. Her parents were missionaries. I got a weird family. Both of my grandparents were pastors, and I took that personally.
Alrighty, here we go. Childhood questions. These are the rough ones. Favorite? What was the video game you dominated as a kid? The poor Brian up there.
Oh, I just played it again. Time Splitters 2, one of my favorite FPSs of all
Fuck
time.
yeah.
And I really don't like first-person shooters, but that one is so weird and nonsensical and strange characters and weapons. I always had fun playing that. But I was also just still like a big Mario boy. Mario 64, Mario Sunshine on the GameCube. I love my Mario games. I played them all on the Switch now. I'll play any Mario game. I just played the RPG. I just played the new Paper Mario. I love them. I don't, whatever that little Italian guy does, I'm there for it.
So we've moved on to video games now. What music were you listening to? What was little Taylor listening to back?
Okay, here's the fun story. This is good. I got stories for everything. It means I've lived. One time I asked my dad to go get me the new System of a Down CD, and I wanted him to get it at Circuit City near the mall where he worked because you got the free t-shirt with it. And I think this was when Hypnotized the first one, or Mesmerized? Doesn't matter. Whichever the first one was, it came with the t-shirt, and I said, go get this for me. And he went and got it, not knowing. And then he came home and gave me a talk about worshiping Satan. And it didn't help. I still worship Satan. System of a Down rules. I loved going to Warped Tour, so a lot of Warped Tour bands.
Oh, yeah.
I was a big Warped baby. You know, a lot of pop punky stuff. I was a little emo boy in high school. Went to a lot of concerts. Was a big concert head for a long time. I remember thinking when I was like 13 or 14, my mom would like take me to concerts in Atlanta, which is like a 2-hour drive from where we were in South Carolina. And I remember thinking like one day I'm going to be old enough to just go to whatever concerts I want and just go, and I'll drive there and I'll have fun. And it turns out I did, and it's awesome. But then it also turns out like you flew so close to the sun that now you just also get beat up at venues where you look up on the walls at who's been there and go, I've seen them on tour, and then you get beat up. And it's like kind of beautiful to go like, oh, I'm touring the same venues as some of my favorite artists. But then you're kind of like, oh, I'm here for the reason of they're going to hurt me. So you have to kind of rethink how you got to the venues. I love music. Right. I played viola. I like all kinds of music. I'm into it.
I was a trombone guy. Did you marching band? Anything?
No, my mom did marching band. She was trombone sometimes, and then played tuba sometimes. But I was orchestra. Me and Allie both played viola all through middle and high school. We found that out later. But it kind of made sense. You know, viola players were a weird bunch.
Favorite cereal? What's your favorite cereal as a kid?
Okay, as a kid, probably, what are they called? Honey Crisps. I love Honey Crisps. I love a good Cheerio. It's kind of plain. I've got Cinnamon Life in the room right now. I'll sometimes pick up a Cashy if it's on sale. Love a Captain Crunch. Love cereal. Love Fruit Loops. Apple Jacks. Reese's peanut butters. Those are
I
wild.
cannot believe you went that many cereal names and haven't said Cinnamon Toast Crunch yet. But I guess Cinnamon Life, it could be.
Okay, Cinnamon Toast Crunch is delicious, but I think it's like everybody's go-to, you know? So it's like I want to explore all the flavors. Sometimes it's a cinnamon time. They got the French Toast Crunch too. That shit is fucked. Don't eat French Toast Crunch.
Yeah, I don't like that one.
It's wrong. They just tried to make syrup a flavor and it's too round. You ever know when a flavor's too round? This flavor's too round. It's just too round of a flavor.
Flavors got shapes.
Yeah.
We have a question from a fan in here real fast. I saw, John, you were looked like you were doing something.
I've got 19 things going on, brother.
Sean Ross Sapp match. I wanted to hear a little bit more stories about the Sean Ross Sapp match.
Oh, this is good. Sean Ross Sapp wanted to do this match, came to Brett, was going to donate his whole payday to charity. The other charity was me. I donated my payday to me and wanted to have a wrestling match with me. Thought he could beat me because Mance had beaten me. And the best part, this is a little too inside baseball, but I just have to spill it. Sean Ross Sapp had texted me prior to the match, asking what my thoughts were on this upcoming match. And I ignored it. And then he texted me again, and I ignored it. And Brett came to me when I got to the show in Louisville, and I did not get there early. I don't care. He said, hey, Sean Ross Sapp came up, and he's real concerned about what's going to happen in this match. Says he keeps trying to talk to you, and you ignore him. And I go, yeah. Because I told him, bad news, Sean Ross. He hasn't had a single thought about this match until he got to this building. And I said, damn, how'd you know that? And he goes, because I know you. And I said, you're correct. So I did get there. I think we put on a pretty good match for an untrained wrestler. I have seen him wrestle with the lovely Shaza McKenzie before. I think she is a spectacular superstar and can make anyone look good. So I knew it was going to be a task. I said, Shaza made him look pretty competent. Can I pull it off? I think we had a pretty fantastic little match. I think the people had fun. I hope to return to Louisville soon. I don't like doing licensing paperwork, but Sean Ross Sapp, he's okay in my book. We have an understanding because people both talk shit about us on Twitter. So we know what it's like to be bullied, and we've both grown stronger because of it.
That's a question I always want to ask wrestlers, but it never comes up. So I guess it has naturally just came up. So I have to ask it. What are your thoughts on Sean Ross Sapp?
I think he's great. Yeah. I think, if you're a fan of wrestling because of the matches, awesome. If you're a fan of wrestling because of the matches and also how crazy the backstage business of wrestling is, even better. And to have people who are like I've known Sean Ross Sapp a few years. I do not expect Sean Ross Sapp to give me any kind of, benefit of the doubt or praise if things are controversial, if things are weird. Expect him to report the facts. And as a person, he has his own opinions. And Sean Ross Sapp as a person, his reporting, though, is Fightful. And I look at Cassie Haynes in the same way. I've known Cassie for years. I consider us friends. If he's reporting news, it's news. We have to have these people in wrestling who are somewhat objective because there's so much spin and so much bullshit and so much fake news and fake stuff put out by wrestling companies hoping you'll believe they're horrible gerbil. They don't expect these people to have real journalistic integrity, to do their own research, to confirm multiple sources, to find out what's really going on. When something's crazy and it breaks, it usually takes a second to figure it out. And so when something's breaking 3 hours after, hey, we've got an update coming in a minute, I know that they've been checking the facts and checking the sources. And it's some people are like, oh, it's so stupid, wrestling journalism. It's so dumb, blah, blah, blah. We're going to work them. But in reality, wrestlers are scared because it doesn't let them hide their bullshit. It doesn't let companies hide their bullshit. The truth will come out. You can say what you want, but there are people seeking this out. And I think especially in the internet age where everyone can add their 2 cents and add their piece or add their experiences to things, it's not as easy to get the truth all the time. And so to have somebody who's actually putting in the effort and putting on their thinking cap and trying and learning and talking to people, it gives us a shred of legitimacy that I don't even know if wrestling deserves at some points.
Did I ask you favorite cartoon? Oh shit!
Gosh, good. It's King of the Hill. And I hesitate because it's hard to call it a cartoon because I think if you lived in the South,
it's a reality show.
I'm very much a Bobby Hill, but my dad was Cotton's height, not Hank's. But just feeling that little artistic feminine boy who his dad doesn't quite understand it, but he's trying to be supportive and living in that Southern world where like a lot of the things that were the funniest there were things that you're like, that happens here often. I don't think it's good, but it's hilarious that you're recognizing it. It's always been a cartoon that I can go back and rewatch and just feel kind of at home with. So I think it's probably the top of all time. And there's two types of people who love King of the Hill and people who didn't grow up in the South. And like, I'm sorry if you didn't, but it's real. It's a real show.
I was going to say, I've been down South quite a few times, and some of the stuff that Northerners find funny, Southerners are like, yep. I mean, I've heard it, so it's not so funny because I've heard it a couple times before, and yeah, Northerners are like, oh,
I didn't really get really it. Funny. I don't think it's funny. It's right. It's real life for me, and
it's a vibe.
Seeing as I grew older, seeing the kind of reflectiveness of like Hank's always trying his best. He's never trying to be putting anybody down, but he just is so confused by a lot of things. And seeing that in your own parents in some ways, especially bringing up a child like myself, I wasn't the easiest child to raise, if you can imagine. And I think seeing that kind of, I think it toned me down a little bit too, because, I felt a little Bobby misunderstood in a lot of ways of who I am. And it doesn't change who I am now, but, it helps you see like, they may seem like the big bad guy, but they're just confused right now what you have presented with them in their beautiful Southern view.
And favorite toy? Do you have a toy that was one that was special to you?
We used to have those dead-ass serious Super Soakers, and I feel like that was sort of the cusp of the last outdoor fun stuff we sort of got as teenagers before things went completely digital. And I'm not mad at like video games being the primary now, but something about like going outside and just shooting a water gun at somebody, and the water gun's as big as you, and you're a middle schooler and you're just shooting each other with it. Those were always super, super fun. And I think they must have taken the models down a little, because I see some of them at Walmart now. Maybe it was just my child's mind making them bigger, but they do seem a little less dangerous than some of the bigger model Super Soakers they used to have. You could really bump that and just wreck a dude.
Dude, take a fucking eye out. Yeah. Little Billy's day is done.
We lived.
You know what? We all live. That's the truth. We might not have our eyesight, but we're fucking making it. Celebrity crush. Who was your celebrity crush growing up?
Jonathan Taylor Thomas. I just thought I wanted to be best friends with him. Turns out I'm gay.
That happens to the best of us.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
okay.
The youthful hair part split that you were just like, I don't know what this is making. I want to be your friend really bad, bro.
Yeah. We totally get along. We get along.
We're best friends.
Show and tell. Show and tell time. Is there something that you have that you would like to show on camera? Maybe give us a story about it. Funny, happy, touching, whatever you have.
It's so cool to me that parts of my regular life are taken into the hands of very creative fans. And I have so much cool fan art around the house. I just found another old picture of me and Allie that someone drew. But this one's my favorite one. And it's my dog Cranberry wearing my jacket that they have like crochet stitch patterned into this thing. So I have
the
this
fishnets
hanging in my room.
Fishnets, yeah.
Fishnet. I'll act like it's my ass. Fishnets, Cranberry. I mean, full detail here.
Yeah, that totally is your ass shade too.
No more, never again.
After 3 years, we know your ass shade, sir. Just let you know.
Well, hello. It's I wasn't a thong in front of a lot of people, as well as there was a period with Bussy where I was just pissing Allie off, so maybe this is why I deserve it, where for 12 matches in a row, I had my ass out, and I would never tell her when I was going to do it, why I was going to do it, if I was going to, and she would just get mad every time and say, if you can watch in a sequence, there's a few of them where you can just see her get genuinely mad that my ass is out for some reason in these matches, just because I thought it was funny to keep popping her. But now I'm seeing I may have earned some of these chair shots.
You tried to pull a dirty dozen with his ass. You're a movie guy. What are your 3 favorite Christmas movies or holiday movies?
Oh, okay.
I'm hitting you sideways.
Jim Carrey Grinch. What a fucking freak, dude. I'm gonna say The Holdovers. I watched it last year and it was fantastic, and I'm looking forward to watching it again. Paul Giamatti rules. That movie rules. Very much Christmas. Lonely Sad Boy Christmas, where we all make it better. I'm trying. Like, part of me wants to say Jingle All the Way. Like, I feel like that's the Christmas movie I've watched the most.
Wow.
I've that Christmas movie so many times, and it also is one of the only other acting appearances of Jake Lloyd, who was Anakin Skywalker in The Phantom Menace, who plays the son of Arnold Schwarzenegger in this film.
No shit, I didn't know that.
Crazy.
Huh. Okay, then now we're gonna get to it. Are you binging any shows right now?
I'm really excited. I'm about to renew my Apple TV. I try to time it because Severance season 2 is coming out. The Adam Scott show about if you could turn your brain off and not know the times you were at work, and when you exit work, you don't remember any of the time you were there. It's really crazy, mind-bending show. But they also have season 2 of Silo coming out, which Rebecca Ferguson is in that one. I think what's his name? Tim. It doesn't matter. Really crazy show based on a book about people who live in a silo. I'm looking forward to that coming back. But I have to be honest, my binge recently has been the Great British Baking Show.
Thank you.
They just finished season 12.
Yes,
I love it more than anything. It's my
dude.
favorite.
We live for the kids ones. We live for the Christmas ones. That is our family dinner show.
Yes, it's fantastic. I love that, and I know it's not true in my heart, but I love the assumption that somehow British people just know all of these specific desserts. Like, you're just like, we're making fairy weather cake bites today. And they're like, of course, we all know what fairy weather cake bites are. And just sort of the idea that, like, and I think they are, because I've spent time in England, and I think they take their desserts and sweets very seriously. And they take their particulars in desserts very seriously. And to see that, like, positive British spirit, because it's not mean like American reality shows, to see these unique little fun desserts. I'm a big dessert. Like, if you want to see me with an 8-pack, imagine if I ate 3 less desserts a week, which tells you how many desserts I'm eating a week, because it's probably roughly 12 desserts a week. I don't care. I love dessert. I love sweets. I love watching them make it. I don't like making it myself. I don't want to mess up the kitchen. I'm a messy chef. So getting to watch them have these perfect moments, or getting to watch them support each other through their little problems, I get fired up about Great British Baking Show. And Pillsbury, go fuck yourself. They are not allowed to be called Bake Off in America, because Pillsbury owns the rights to the terms Bake Off used in media. Isn't that crazy?
Some Pillsbury bullshit right there.
It's Pillsbury bullshit.
That's big Pillsbury trying to take us down. That's what it is. That's the man.
We are sick of your croissants, motherfucker.
Sick of that fucking shit. Worst shoot job you've ever had?
You know, I bless the position I was given to be a general manager at a 2-minute truck franchise. I bless it. But I think people don't know about EFFY. If we're going back to earlier, I have hired and fired thousands of people. I have had to fire people for pooping in the yard. I've had to fire people for stealing. I've had to fire people for doing drugs in front of me. I've had to fire people for just not showing. Like, I've had to hire and fire the worst and the best, and it is an incredibly terrible thing. I can run trucks all day. I can get people to a job. I can complete a move. I can book a move. I can sell a move. I do not like hiring and firing people, and it ate me up every day until I got the confidence to go, well, I'm just going to wrestle full time. And of course, COVID followed. It was so hard on me, like, as a human, to continue to be told you have to fire this person, not really agree with it, and then have to do this horrible. It's like, I don't want that on me, but I do see those skills in HR and those skills in hiring and firing making a big difference in how I approach my professional career. But I fucking hate that I have the experience to know how that feels and know what that was. And just, it doesn't make you feel good as a person. But I think it's good to recognize when you find things about jobs where you go, I absolutely do not ever want to have to do this part again. And hopefully you won't, but if you do, you have the skills to do it, I guess. But I'd like to not find myself in that position again for that reason. I also worked as an ice cream scooper. I unloaded trucks. I used to be a mover. I mean, I did a lot of work with my body and my hands, but it was always kind of front customer service facing. And I think, like, it gives you the skills to deal with all sorts of people, especially in wrestling where people are so weird. Where like, if you can handle anybody in customer service, you know, especially when they're right in front of you, you're moving their piano, you're making their ice cream, you're doing this stuff. You can learn to negotiate with people and meet their expectations when you're communicating with them in a much better way. And so, like, when I meet people in wrestling and like that's the only job they've ever had, they've never had a hard job, they've done wrestling since they were 18, 17, 16. And they haven't had customer service experience, so they haven't had a boss who's an asshole or had people trying to fuck with them or scam them at the job. They don't necessarily have all of the tools necessary to not only reach the higher level and be able to negotiate to get to that higher level, but to maintain that, because you've got to be a business person through and through. And like, I hate those experiences I had, but like not much can phase me these days when it comes to doing business or working jobs or dealing with people, you know, within that hierarchy of who's working for you and who are you working for.
Will you be going back to smoking weed down the road, or do you feel like you've had a chance to do both, like sober living and then smoking? Do you see yourself going back to it, or where are you at right now on that?
As soon as I am legally able and as soon as those options are legally available to me, absolutely. I can feel a difference in the soreness of my body now that I am not actively using cannabis. I can feel a difference in the way I'm frustrated sometimes. And that's, you know, oh, you're addicted to this. No, but, you know, it does give you a different perspective to sort of handle problems or deal with things or think about things without as much edge on it. And I think, you know, with the year I've had match wise, I could use a little reprieve from the pain. And I've, you know, moved forward in this probationary thing where it's a little bit easier for me now to live and move and work as a wrestler who's traveling for a living. But I still like, I want to be fully in the clear with everything before I'm jumping back to stuff. And, you know, with the America I see going forward, I don't see Donald Trump moving towards the legalization for everywhere anytime soon. But I'm hoping that, you know, states are allowed to at least make their choices heard. And, you know, you see how well taxation is done on the legal product in a lot of states. And you hope that people would follow suit in that. But, you know, I hope that I can look back eventually and be like, oh, I was kind of a prohibitionary martyr in the period of time where, you know, this was frowned upon and still legally reprehensible, although being used by a lot of Americans at the same time, casually and legally. It's a weird thing to be in. But I think like when I look back on it, I'll go like, yeah, I had to deal with the prohibition of cannabis in the US. And I hope it will sound weird and sound crazy to people when I'm reflecting upon it at that time, hopefully once everything's clear, which I've been told by next May, as long as I'm not arrested, caught, you know, messed with by the police by next May, everything is clear. Everything is fine. There's nothing on the record.
Hell yes. Good for you.
We're going to have to protect him in Vegas though.
We will protect this man. And
I'll have to wear an N95 mask just to make sure I don't get contaminated.
We'll have you on bath salts, licking pickles from the
final
7-Eleven.
month. We have to work
yeah, welcome to Vegas.
Are you still on that pickle kick?
I love pickles, but I'll tell you this. I did a scheme. One of my Twitch subscribers and fans, Dirku, had given me a gummy pickle flavored shaped pickle. Like it was a pickle flavored gummy shaped like a pickle. And I said, if we hit a level 5 hype train, which like hasn't happened in a while, I'll eat the pickle live on the stream. They hit it. It was horrendous. The pickle flavor was sugar. It was hard. It was old. This gummy had like dried up some. You really had to chew through it. I've been a little hesitant on pickles. I will say I had some bread and butter pickles as a little side to a jambalaya rice dish I made the other day, and it was tolerable. I think I'm moving back towards being a pickle lover again. But that gummy deal, you know, I always say if I was on The Amazing Race or Fear Factor, if they brought that back or something, there's not much I wouldn't eat. And I ate the whole pickle and I was gagging the whole time. But it's also something like, if I hadn't do it again knowingly, I don't know if I could get the whole thing down, even for prizes. It was rough. Wow. But I'm a man of my word. I ate the fucking, I said, I don't have to eat the whole thing, right? I said, you got to eat the whole thing. I ate that whole pickle on stream.
Okay, there's only a couple more questions yet. This is my favorite question. B, the minute we get to this, he's always like, oh. Do you have any ghost stories or spooky stories that you could share over your life? And I'll put this in here with it. you always have to be on your toes during travel. Have you seen anything during wrestling trips, like hotels or venues?
So the only time I've actively dealt with ghosts while on the road for wrestling was in Las Vegas, funny enough. And it was staying at the Binion's Casino, which I was warned was going to be haunted. And it was so cheap, I didn't care. They have no resort fee. Like, it's so fucking cheap to stay at Binion's. And we got in the room. Number one, not really a lot of windows. And number two, shit kept moving around. Radios kept turning on. Lights kept switching on and off. Our bags kept getting moved around. It was very like, oh, y'all weren't kidding. Like, this isn't just a gimmick.
Yeah.
There's some shit fucking around in here. And the history of Binion's kind of reflects like gangsters were coming through there when Vegas was being built. This was a spot where people were killed or dealt with in a lot of ways. And so, yes, like that was the craziest ghost time. I'm sure I've dealt with more. I did stay at one crazy hotel in Liverpool when I was over there that was very weird and haunted and old and pre-World War II. And I didn't see anything in particular, but you could just feel the vibes there were different. But the last house before we moved into this one that me and Pete were living in, the most haunted place I've ever lived in my whole life. It was built on so here's our house, and here's the house next door. The house next door is the Civil War Union Army hospital built in 1860. Okay. And so our house is on the property where you would just have the bodies hanging out who didn't fit in the hospital. The whole property is the parking lot of the Civil War hospital. So we would see legs walking in the back of the yard. We would see orbs in the windows. We'd see soldiers kind of half wandering aimlessly around, like on separate occasions many times. And if you were in the old claw tub bathroom with the shower running, I swear to you, coming from the basement, there was always two girls arguing, and we both heard it at different times. And there'd even be times where I thought he was having conversations outside. I thought he was talking to people on the porch, and I'd be like, "Who are you talking to?" Like, I wasn't out there. I wasn't there. And it was just consistently over and over and over. We would have these things, and when we would reference it on the podcast, sometimes the podcast would just stop recording or pictures would fall down. It was very like a presence that wasn't necessarily evil, but was very aware of us. And like, we've got some weird footage and stuff from that time where it felt like we had to get out of that place. And we did, and we moved here. And I swear to you, we sleep better. The dogs are less freaked out. It just feels lighter here than it did over in that house. And nobody has moved into that house since. Like, I don't blame them. Wow. That place is haunted as fuck.
I just know that listening to the podcast over that time when you guys had started to figure out that shit was going wild, like the bathroom stories, the shower stories, you guys were always talking about things that were going on there. As one of those people who loves that wild shit, it was really enjoyable to listen to. Those are some fun things to listen to. They really
it was a little nerve-wracking living there, and I felt really even worse for Peter because I would get to leave for the weekends. And it would just be Peter and the dog in this house. And I'd say, "How was everything?" It was always, it was a little strange. It was a little wild. So I don't even know some of the stuff that they saw, but it was there. It was weird. I'm glad it was entertaining. It was nerve-wracking at the time. I'm glad we're not there anymore. Much better home we're in now. We're paying more money, but it's not haunted. And I think that's worth the pay.
Dude, it was a real life scary story. Like, I had to sit there and listen to you guys figure out this was going on and then this, and then you guys are both comparing notes. Like, oh, I heard this. What about you? And then
you're hearing it live. There's no pre-discussion for any of our podcasts ever. We just get on there. We barely have a plan going in, and we're comparing these notes live as you're hearing it. Like, if you can't tell, we're a little freaked out. It would be very good acting on my part to get some of that across. So maybe I'll go study that for a role.
Oh, dude, it was so much fun did you just hear that? And Peter's like, no. And you're like, I swear I just saw and heard over there in that corner. Yeah, please, that makes for some gripping. That's some gripping listening when you're trying to go to sleep
just look at a corner for a long time and you're going, what are you seeing? I don't want to know.
Yeah, that's last question. In your travels, have you fallen in love with any area of the country or world and you would like to live there?
All the time and often. It is so magical to get to come into these places, but it's very rare that I get to spend a lot of time in a place. I got to spend a little bit of time, a few times in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. It is perfect and beautiful. They just film a bunch of stuff there because there's so many different environments. They have the mountains and the sea and the rivers and trees. It's gorgeous up there. I would love to spend more time up there. I love Tokyo, Japan. Who doesn't love Tokyo, Japan? But I'll be honest, going to Australia a few times, I'm a big fan of Melbourne, Australia. It feels to me very like old Europe in a sense, and I think it was built purposefully to sort of reflect that. Sydney to me is more of a New York City hub. This to me is more of like Venice meets LA. It's a much more laid back vibe. It's very sunny, beautiful beaches, beautiful architecture. Melbourne really stood out to me, and I wouldn't have to learn a new language. Once again, lazy. I also I didn't spend wrestling time there, but I spent a long time in Alicante, Spain, on the coast of the Mediterranean. Beautiful, lazy ass Spanish beach town. The Spanish they speak is so coastal in dialect and so specifically Alicante that it is indecipherable even to a lot of native Spanish speakers. It's just very like slurred and low toned and no emphasis on anything, which makes it kind of crazy. And it was just beautiful down there. I loved it. I still drank back then, so más chupitos por favor. The shots were flowing when I was there. I had a great time. I'm a much older man now, but seeing the oldness of that city and the oldness of Spain, absolutely beautiful. I'd love to see a lot more of Asia. I'm trying to work out Thailand and Vietnam, and I'd love to see more of Europe. I got to go to Germany. I think by the time I got to Germany last year, I was a little tour worn. We had done England and Japan and Australia and Germany kind of in succession with shows in between. And I just was a little sick of traveling. So I don't know if I was taking as much of it in as I could have, but I did have a good time there. But I'd love to see more of it. We're going to France. It'll be my first time in France at the end of January for GCW. And then getting to go back to London. I got to spend time the last time in London. My mom is retired now, and she ended up taking a long form seminar course, summer course at Oxford. She was an English major in college. She's retired, and she just likes to travel and go to England now. And so she was in England the same time that I was going to be wrestling for Progress in London. She got to come to the Electric Ballroom. She got to see me wrestle, see me and Ali wrestle. And we got to wander around sort of that hipster, eclectic little area. And we had a Sunday roast burrito that was delicious. We got to see the shops. It was very cool to see London with my mom, who also loves London.
Now, as of right now, not getting into personal, right now, you're primarily locked into where you're at. Some people don't leave until their family has passed on, or they like to stay near their parents and whatnot. Do you see yourself staying in the Southeast, or do you see yourself eventually moving out in a decade or so?
There's something really spunky about the South to me personally. And I've lived in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida. I've spent time in Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Missouri. There's all of these areas, that I've really enjoyed spending time in. And I love seeing the rest of the world. But I think people are a little surprised to find out I like the South because it's not fully EFFY friendly yet. I love seeing those little spurs of people or pockets of people, and especially outside of Atlanta. Atlanta itself is very queer, very rich, very cultural, very diverse. But outside of that Atlanta pick, there are parts where I'm not so fully accepted. And I think having a little bit of that is very good for my motivation, for me to keep pushing, for me to remember that I still have to be sharp like a blade too, that things are not always 100% safe. And I'm not wishing that environment on anyone else, but I feel like having that keeps me a little punk rock. It keeps me on edge. It keeps reminding me that we're not at a perfect place yet. And truth be told, there's no better food in the world than in the American South. I'm sorry. I don't care who's making it. I may disagree with their views, but I'm telling you, I personally have not found better food in the world than in the American South. They have everything I need. I love the food so much. The Atlanta airport's perfect. Maybe one day I will live somewhere else. My mom's in South Carolina. My dad's in North Carolina. My partner is here with me in Atlanta. Everything is fairly close. I still have a lot of friends, all around the South, but I have a global network of people. I have a job that could allow me globally to live in a lot of places with a lot of easy airports for access. And I just so far have not found a reason to leave the South. And I've visited a lot of the world, and I still find myself enjoying coming back to Atlanta. It's got everything a city has. It's not as big as a lot of these cities, and it has a lot of just new culture that moves through here that ends up getting to the rest of the world. But, Atlanta's music scene and fashion scene, hip hop scene, culture scene is just, it keeps me kind of on the cusp of whatever's coming in that's new, while also keeping me in the South in a place where I'm going, we still have a long way to go. And I have a very clear image of that. And so, not to be too high and mighty about why I live here, but there's a lot of factors that play into keeping me here. And hopefully I'll enjoy it for a long time. I'm not opposed to anywhere, but Chicago, if it would heat up, from October to May, it's a beautiful place in the summer, but a lot of these places, I can't live in them all year, and it doesn't matter how hot or humid. I don't give a damn. And maybe one day it'll kill me, but I would rather be hot and naked than ever covering myself with any more clothing.
Well,
That's
I think
a
you
fucking
got
quote right there.
I'm about to say, I think he got quoted earlier. He got his second quote of the night saying the food in the South is the best in the world. I think that's going to be that's going to be clipped on Fightful, I think. And
I hope.
Gatsby's going to get to work, man.
Yeah.
So this is the last part. I love to do this. First of all, thank you for coming on here with us.
Thank you so much,
with us after we do go off the air, so I can just thank you personally once.
Oh yeah, you're great. Well, don't feel like you have to go off the air if I'm gone either. I feel like you have another portion of your life and show to talk about.
Yeah, the portion of my life is called sleep and work tomorrow.
Okay, fair.
Effie, I could go on all night with you, man. This has been a blast. We gotta have you on again. I know you're busy. We definitely gotta.
There's plenty more to talk about.
Exactly. I think we just started.
Bro, we could have done an hour just on paranormal between you and I.
Oh, I agree.
We could have been a deep. We have had such great answers on the paranormal ghost question that I could have started a separate podcast just asking wrestlers about their stories.
Yeah.
Some of these stories that have come out have been fantastic. Cole
now you
Price
scared me there with Vegas. Like your story had to be Vegas. Now I'm scared.
Cole Price and myself also were raised in or around homes that were part of the Underground Railroad during the Civil War. And those houses, which history, I'm sure you know, scary as fuck. They have such terrible vibes from scared people being in these terrible
conditions. They were bringing positive energy in there. They were running for their lives.
Yeah.
And
with family.
That's
if they were lucky, with family might be the better way to put it, because a lot of them got separated. All right, this is our last part. You've made it. Thank you so much. We have a lot of people listening. This is the part of the evening where I like to give you center stage, and you can talk personally with all the fans and listeners that came here to listen to you tonight. There's no interruptions, no time limits. Say what you wish. You can shoot, you can work. The stage is yours. Go.
Hi, I'm Effy, Electric Fantastic. Fuck you. I'm Effy, either fucking or fighting you. I'm Effy, and I'm here to tell you about professional wrestling. I don't care if you like me. I don't care if you don't like me. I embody what professional wrestling is. I am controversial. I am flamboyant. I am a showman. I am a physical specimen. I am a story. I am a fight. I am hardcore. I am softcore. I am everything. I am merchandising. I am business. I am the cusp of the new media, and everyone is looking to me, but nobody wants to admit it. Effy has changed professional wrestling, and Effy has maintained a very constant top spot in pro wrestling, not by accident. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm saying. I know what things sound controversial, and I also know that if you want to be a baby, you're going to look like a baby. This is pro wrestling. This ain't kiddie play. This is real adults having real conversations. These are real stories and real battles. And whatever you want to say is fake is fake. It's all fake. Actually, did you know that Effy was told by a detective when there were domestic terrorist threats on the first Big Gay Brunch, when people were threatening to shoot me live and blow up the building? He said, what you said is not a problem. What you said about killing people in the streets is no worry, because Effy is a fictional character, and nothing Effy says is actually believed to be what you as a person are saying. But I tell you this, legally, I may be protected. Legally, nothing I say is real. But in real life, a lot of you are butthurt that I opened my mouth. I have never not been a menace. I have never not done whatever I'm going to do. I have been told I am wrong time and time and time and time again. And yet, here before you I stand, still with people listening, still with an audience, and still able, with a snap of my fingers or the twist of my tongue, to change the business in a heartbeat. Don't act like I'm not doing what the future is. You can all hold on to the little elbow that gives you a look and a shot and a chance in front of an audience. But I am building the audience myself. I am able to be self-sufficient. And I am showing you in my own way that you don't need none of their shit if you want to be good at pro wrestling. All you have to do is get in front of the people and make something they care about. EFFY is not going anywhere. EFFY is ready for Hammerstein January 19th. EFFY is ready to carry the flag for all of independence and all of pro wrestling. EFFY will not be censored. EFFY will not be quiet, and EFFY will not just be your version of a good guy to appease you. EFFY is EFFY, and if you're with it, great. And if you're not, you'll catch up one day, hopefully, eventually. But for now, just tell me what you think, because if you think about EFFY, you're doing what I wanted. EFFYlives.com. EFFY lives on all social media. Blue Sky's blowing up. Twitch is running heavy. And tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Well, 9:40 p.m. because I'm going to eat into his main event. I'm doing a big whatnot. We're selling the Gabriel hat. I have a prototype Bendy figure. I have some used gear, and I have a bunch of weird signed multi-pictures featuring people like Warhorse and Danhausen. Please come check it out. Look me up. It's all on social media. I'm easily accessible and available. And if you have a question, ask me. I'm apt to answer it.
Gorgeous.
Wow.
Gorgeous.
We wanted to play the Paul Heyman Hammerstein hype video. I think you just gave us an even better version of it.
We make our own hype, and we love the people of the past. We study the work they've given us, but baby, I'm the one kicking the door. I don't need your assistance.
According to Dezo, though, you got 10 more minutes left in this promo, Warrior.
Oh. I was there the night before Ultimate Warrior died after he got inducted, and I was with my friend Jennings, and we had very, very cheap high-up seats for that Raw after Mania, and he looked at me halfway through his promo, and he goes, man, that old motherfucker's going to die. And then he did the next day. Jennings called it. My friend's a genius.
I told my wife he don't look good. And then the next morning I was like, I said he didn't look good. Oops.
We all knew. Hey, and just
you could tell
the record,
you could tell his
fuck
heart.
Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, you could tell by his heart. Like you could tell he was trying to shake the ropes and shit, and he couldn't even get to shake him. I'm going, okay, something's not right here. Okay, well, we'll end on that note.
I love it.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Man.
Thank you for giving me the time. Thank you for letting me talk. And thank you guys for giving a fuck about GCW. It's very cool to have people that pay enough attention to the things we're doing and are seeing the little bits of storytelling that we're mixing in that aren't as direct and in your face. It's very lovely to know that people are actually paying attention because we do care very much about this. And I assure you, we are a very detailed crew of people that are allowing and hoping that people will connect our dots.
There's a lot of layers, and if you pay attention, they're there.
We want to reward paying attention, and I hope people can see that.
I feel rewarded a lot watching your guys' matchups. And there's as you said, there's so much going on that sometimes we even miss the little things, but our fans in the chat will quickly fix us and help us out and identify it. Yep. So it is being noticed. So thank you again. And as you said, our platform is always available anytime you want. We always are right after you. We appreciate all your support and raids every single week. And our platform is right after yours. And you could always hop on at any time.
I'll be tuned in either way, but I'm sure we can find another time to chat.
Absolutely.
Oh, fuck yes. I also got the okay that if we ever need to go live, I got Cass's okay, and something needs to be said, we can do that. That goes for talent. That goes for Brett. If you guys have something that needs to be said or is important, or you need to get out there and you need to talk to the fans now, that's us. Get a hold of us. We'll get that taken care of for you.
Well, it's nice to know. It's nice to know we've got the space. Sometimes you got to hear it straight from the horse's mouth.
Right. Yeah,
we love you. There's out of the horse's mouth.
Yes. Thank you for the platform tonight. And thank you for letting everybody hear what's really going on.
You needed, I think you needed this though. I don't know why. Sure. I just felt like you needed some people to bounce some things. I think you needed the fans to directly ask questions. Yeah. Our chat is wonderful, and I think they did a good job. I don't believe we got to everything tonight. I'm so sorry.
But I also hope people can see I speak and I'm pretty eloquent when I speak, and I get pretty fired up when I speak, but this whole thing, I've been extremely level-headed about it. And I just like, if you can't see the silliness with me, then I'm sorry, we're not looking at the same things. And it's fine. Let it play out the way it plays out. I think for the fans, it will actually work out in the net positive, but I can't guarantee anything. And I just, I like unleashing a storm. I don't always like being in the storm when it's going on.
He likes stirring the pot. He just doesn't like the way it spins sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, I would say the timing of this storm, as you said at the beginning of this episode, timing is perfect in your life. The timing of this storm couldn't get any better, as you said, heading into Hammerstein. You, Ali, and Mance, and everything going on. Hammerstein is going to be a spectacle and definitely one to watch out for.
And a lot of surprises still to come. I think we've really outdone ourselves with this one. I think the fans are going to see real form GCW presented this way. And you know what? If we lost you the first time, too bad, because I think we're getting into the period where we're running at our highest potential, and we've got a super ready crew to show the world our version of wrestling.
Awesome. I say we leave that little cliffhanger for next week there.
And the last thing I will say, thank you for staying up so late with us. Guys, this is a 6-hour straight run from EFFY, and he was already running earlier today. So you may have put in close to 8 hours or so, huh? I'm
always ready to go. But I am going to sleep tonight. Let them know. I'm going to sleep.
No.
You sleep very good at night.
You did well beyond what was even expected. Honestly, we got through everything almost. I think
didn't feel like work over here. It was good, and I like talking about myself. So what are you gonna do?
And we like listening to all the stories for sure.
Yeah, everybody is very thankful in chat too. They all said they love you, and they all said thank you for the interview.
Hell yeah, thank you. Thank you to everybody.
Let's do this, buddy. You ready to rock and roll and get the hell out of here, B?
Let's get out of here. All right, here we go. We gotta get a good for EFFY here.
This is always rough. All right. Long.
Hey, there we go.
Live.
Hey, there we go. G. God damn it.
C. W.
Good night, everyone.